Ningyu's despair for. Those last words echoed in Ningyu's head, causing her brain to want to explode from pain. Suddenly, the girl lost all sanity and crouched down with her hands wrapped around her head, as she cried out in agony. Betrayal has always been the poison which hurts the most. For Ningyu, she's suffering exactly that right now. She had always believed her mother died, while trying to give birth to herself, and that the woman was a slut who seduced her own father, in order to climb up the ranks of society. Now it turns out everything was a lie? All because her old man wanted to please her Auntie Ning? Curling up into a clump, the girl's existence seems to weaken further, until it's but a flicker after going through all those thoughts. Ho! Dragonflame sarcastically ticked his lips into a snarl after glancing down to the ground, and saw what's happening. It looks like you humans are more ruthless and crueler than I thought. From what I see, your feelings for that Bai Ning is just as fake as the rest. You're only conniving after her beauty and talent. If she turns ugly and talentless overnight, I bet you won't even bat an eyelash then. Ning Yuan's body froze in that instant, because the very idea never even crossed the scum's brain. Talentless and ugly? My Ninga. Impossible, what ludicrous nonsense. Quit spouting crap. The scum grits his teeth in annoyance. My Ninger is so outstanding. Whatever you said won't ever come to pass. Also, she will soon be mine, mind you hear. That's right, this guy is spouting nonsense. Whatever he says is impossible. How can I not like my Ninger when she's so amazing? Right as he thought up to there, Ning Yuan suddenly realized something was up upon seeing the face the old goat was making, going white in his expression. Are you waiting for that Bai Yin to come? Not confirming or rebutting the idea, Dragonflame continues to press the issue to divert his attention. Let me guess, that Bai Ning's memory loss is also your doing, am right? Ha ha ha. Sure enough, Ning Yuan breaks out into a maniacal laugh upon being provoked by the subject. So what if I'm the one who did it? I wanted her to stay by my side, but she kept insisting on leaving to be with her husband and daughter despite everything that I did. Closing his eyes, the scum seems to be recalling back to the past that brought forth the inner rage he's been suppressing over the years. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. She just lost her daughter, and was covered in blood by the time I came across her. Yet she still tried to go back to her family. I only sealed her memories for her sake, it's all for her. That's right, I did everything for her, because I love her too much. Perhaps the scum had said too much there. But by now Ningyu had stopped holding her own head on the ground, and gradually crawled up to meet that man whom she considered her own father. She's still showing the same stupor of earlier, but her inner workings of the brain had stopped, and left her in a blank state. Ningyu's despair 5. Auntie Ning's amnesia. Isn't it because of her being abandoned by her daughter and husband? Pa, please tell me that's not true. Ningyu's voice shook with fear, afraid of what the answer would be. Cold and disheartening in his face, Ning Yuan openly snorted like a contemptuous wolf. What are you staring at? Yes, what he said is true, so what? Whatever I do is out of love for her, I have no fault. Boom. Like a sunny day being blown away, Ningyu's last ounce of faith has finally collapsed, just like a believer being told their religion was false. Tightly clamping her face in dread, tears trickled downwards like pearls. How did this happen? Aunt Ning wasn't abandoned by her husband and daughter, but forcibly kidnapped by Pa, and made to forget her past? What have I done? How could I have ever thought about pairing Auntie Ning with a scum like him? Pa, how can you treat Auntie Ning like this? Ningyu forces this out, her lips trembling with emotions. She has always thought that it was herself keeping Bai Ning company over the years. That's why she felt so entitled to being the lady's daughter, and inheriting that powerful demonic beast. But it turns out that's not true at all. Rather, it's the polar opposite. In fact, if not for the lady's kindness, she herself wouldn't even be able to enjoy the years of life so far. She would have died under the cruel hands of this scum. At the end of the day, it's not her Auntie Ning who owes her. It's she owing that woman for the kindness and life. I've said what I need to say, and you, Ning Yuan suddenly turns his scowl into a mocking sneer, can forget about leaving. Squinting his eyes into a narrow slit, the old goat revealed a flash of frost in his eyes. What do you mean by that? Haha, you're asking what I mean? While you're stalling for time, I was also waiting for someone else. Otherwise, why else would I stay to say all this to you? Let me tell you the truth. I've already promised those keepers from the Celestial Palace that if I hand over that demonic beast under Ninger's control, then they will help me marry her. Clearly at this point the scum would do anything to get his hands on the lady, even if it means offering her up to the enemy. You're crazy. Ningyu's expression greatly changed. Pa, you will kill Auntie Ning by doing that. Those people hate her to the core. There's no way they would let her go. Even if Bai Ning would no longer stay with her, the petite girl still holds the woman as her own family. After all, she did fill the girl's hole of lacking maternal love over the years. Do you think I can still smoothly get her with that Bai Yin around? Ninger's strength is very strong. Unless I get the help of those keepers, then I can forget about marrying her. I can't worry about so much anymore. The scum also took a lot of effort when coming to this decision. To be fair though, seeking help from the Celestial Palace was only a backup plan. If Ningyu had done what she was tasked to do and poisoned Bai Yin, then he would have left those keepers hanging dry. But obviously that wasn't the case, so he's going to go through with this. Not good. Dragon Flame seems to sense something. Going a bit white in his complexion, he hurriedly looks up and discovered why. There's an old figure wearing a grayish robe above his head. Ningyu's despair 6. Where's Bai Ning? The one speaking was an elderly old man with a very arrogant voice. But those words carried power like drumming thunder in a stormy night, leaving those with weaker bodies suffering from the shockwave. Keeper Ling, Bai Ning will soon be here, please wait. Pa, Ningyu cries out in a panic. You're really going to kill Auntie at this rate? You shut up. The scum snaps. I do not need you pointing your fingers around to dictate how I do things. You are unworthy. Being called unworthy despite being the man's own blood was damning for Ningyu. Completely crumbling to the ground again, she felt powerless and alone in this world right now. She had no family left at this point. Not a father, not a mother, and not a single dear friend she could turn to. Is this girl your daughter? Keeper Ling asks after casting a glance down below. Ning Yuan nodded. Yes, is there something you need by asking? Nothing. I only want to know her relationship with Bai Ning. Squinting his gaze then, a flash of coldness flickered in the keeper's eye. This time it did not need the scum to reply, because Lu Xian had recovered from the initial shockwave. Hurrying to speak. Respected keeper, please don't misunderstand. Yuer and that Bai Ning is not close. Just earlier that woman had expelled Yuer from her side, so they no longer have any relationship. For Ningyu, she hated the fact that her relationship had crashed hard with her Auntie Ning. To be pointed out like that only infuriated the girl, and didn't win any positive points. What are you talking about? Auntie Ning will always be my mother in my heart. Even if she drove me away, I will find a chance to return to her side and never leave her. Yuer. Sweating buckets on the forehead, Lu Xian kept giving the girl eye signals to make her stop. Sadly, despite the goodwill, Ningyu continued to ignore it, and kept going like she's lost it. Why do you care so much about me when you're nothing but a maid? Now that my father doesn't want me, you have no reason to please me anymore. Nor will I take your affection. Going white in the face, Lu Xian could already feel the temperature dropping around Keeper Ling's existence. Hurrying forward, the lady attempts to pull the girl up and leave before it's too late. You go away. I don't want your fake kindness. Using her best effort to push the lady away, Ningyu manages to get up from the ground on her own. If it wasn't for Pa lying to me, making me believe Auntie Ning's daughter abandoned her, I wouldn't have been driven away. But it doesn't matter. Auntie Ning will forgive me soon enough. She will then accept me, and I will become her daughter as well. Seemingly realizing the truth now, Lu Xian looks on at the girl in front of herself with horror. She's trying to seek death. That's right. After being driven away by Bai Ning at the inn, this petite girl who made so much mistakes in life only wanted to run back to her father for comfort. Never did she intend on taking her own life. However, the truth simply was too cruel for her young heart. Now the last straw keeping her soul in check has crumbled, and she just wants to end it. End everything and leave this unbearable world. Ningyu's despair 7. In this world no one truly loves me. Aside from Auntie Ning who did. My own father is bent on only using me. So what other reason do I have to live for when the last person who truly cares for me has left? I admit, part of me wanted to be Auntie Ning's daughter because of that demonic beast she held in her hands. But more of it was because I was unwilling to give her up to someone else. Why does some random stranger get to take her away from me when I've been with her for all these years? I always thought she owed me for that, but now I finally understand. It is I who owes her for everything kind that is in my life. Gently closing her eyes, a single drop of tear fell out of the corner to show how helplessly sad she was. If you want to die, then I will oblige you. A flash of killing intent filled Keeper Ling's gaze as he whisked his sleeve, shooting out a light beam towards Ningyu's figure. Perhaps the heart still feared death, because Ningyu continued to tremble under the bristling wind of this valley. However, she's got no room left to escape at this point. Yet the expected stinging pain never came. Finding this strange, she slowly wedged a slit in her tightly clamped eyelids and took a peek. To her shock, there's a slender figure standing in front of herself, pierced through the chest by that ray. In this second, this very moment, Ningyu couldn't feel her heart beating anymore, as Lu Xian's body gradually fell down to the bushes like a withering rose. My feelings for you isn't fake, nor is it only for Brother Yuan's sake. He is one of the reasons, but also, for more than a decade, I've been watching over you from the shadows. There's no way I don't care for you. That said, the dying lady then shifts her gentle gaze over to the scum, who still didn't move a step to help. Brother Yuan, I know you are not like that. If Yor dies, then you'll regret it, so let me do this one last thing for you. Following those final words, the last spark of life now leaves the beauty's eye. Regret, pain, and guilt poured into Ningyu's heart as she stared down at the pool of blood continuing to seep out of that lifeless body. Then in a sudden burst of anger, resentment filled those crying eyes as she herself confronted her own father, the very scum who did nothing to help. She sought that on her own. She can't blame anyone but herself for being so foolish. Ning Yuan only showed a glimpse of surprise at the enraged look from his own daughter, before returning back to his old self. Understanding as much that she couldn't do anything, Ningyu was done with that man as well, and no longer cared. Crouching down, her hands gently held onto Lu Xian's body as she cried her hearts out. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Auntie Lu. She did it again, making another dire mistake that costed her someone important. Ningyu's despair 8. On this day, Ningyu seems to have matured a lot due to everything. However, there are no smiles left on her face, there's only hatred. Humans. Such a confusing race. Shaking his head after muttering that to himself, Dragon Flame returns his gaze to the keeper who's still looking down from above. Old fart, don't get so arrogant in front me. If I still had my previous strength, then you wouldn't stand a fiddle in front of my eye. Humph. Keeper Ling huffs a snort. Blind and arrogant. What a hopeless creature you are. Nothing but a grain of rice. You will never compare to the sun in the sky like I. Unfazed by the put down, the old goat scoffs a sneer of his own. How can the people of this age be this arrogant? In our time, no one would even dare to rant in front of me, the great dragon god. Likely annoyed now, Keeper Ling narrows his eyes in and released his aura out like a field, covering the entire field in a visible force. It's crushing for the old goat in his weakened state. However, as someone so proud and old as he, Dragon Flame would never allow his dignity to be tarnished like this, and refused to bow down despite those legs shaking non-stop from the pressure. Against this struggling picture, Keeper Ling's smirk only grew wider, and goaded him to increase that pressure. Arkha! Issuing out a roar in retaliation, Dragon Flame knew he had to do something, and met the force field head-on with his own. Not far away, Bai Yen and Bai Ning were coming to the scene at great speed, when their ears were suddenly hit with that rumbling roar. Not good. What's going on? Asked Bai Ning, who had stopped flying and showing a frown on her face. Serious as well, Bai Yin quickly explains. It is Dragon Flame, he's likely in danger. Half Qing Sing, you go back to the inn and protect my kids. Me and my mother is enough. Dragon Flame is in danger? The snake mutters to herself in surprise. That guy is so powerful, who can cause trouble for him? As curious as the snake was about the supposed enemy, she couldn't exactly refuse the order, and retreated in the opposite way. Yenner, we should hurry then before it's too late. That said, Bai Ning didn't stick around and flew forward, reappearing with her afterimage several meters away already, and continuing to go further with Bai Yin close on her tail. Back over in the secluded valley, the old goat's legs had already begun to bend in an unnatural way, due to the pressure coming down on his head. It's excruciatingly painful, almost unbearable even, but the ancient monster never once wavered in his determination to not kneel. I, Dragon Flame, will never kneel before a human. You can't humiliate me. Gritting his teeth, the old goat became even more ferocious in the eye as fire burned in them. If it was in the past, a puny human like you would never dare to cross me, the great dragon god. But just because I've been locked away for so long that you insects would act all arrogant before me? Just you wait. I will make you pay for everything today, once I regain my full strength. Suddenly, before the old goat could react due to his attention being occupied, a figure wearing a pearly white dress had come before him. Next thing he knew, the force had been dispersed following a wave from the lady. Despite being free, the strain on his legs remains, causing Dragon Flame to sit paralyzed on the ground as he gasped for air. Ningyu's despair 9. Likely finding his own behavior shameful, Dragon Flame hurried to gather his composure after a few more breaths, and got up again, all the while never once removing his stare up at the keeper. Auntie Ning. The appearance of Bai Ning brought hope to Ningyu's heart. Hurrying up from the ground as well, she wanted to run over and embrace that motherly figure in her heart. However, the appearance of Bai Yin that came right afterwards sent her shuddering through the body. Those eyes were all sour and jealous over the fact. It's true this petite girl has come to terms with the truth, that Bai Yin may not have deliberately abandoned Bai Ning in the past, but it doesn't change her feelings toward the other side, because that meant she won't. You. Keeper Ling originally had an unimpressed face despite being interrupted, but his annoyance soon changed to horror and shock at Bai Yan's face. In fact, he actually lost his breath over this encounter. It's you. How is this possible? How is this woman still alive? I clearly destroyed her soul back then. How can she be here now? And what's with her calling Bai Ning her mother? Surprised as well at being called out, Bai Yin pricks her brow at the foe. You know me? Humph. Expressionless on his face, Keeper Ling waves dismissively. You are a scourge to the celestial realm. Even if you turn to ash, I will still recognize you. But why are you still alive? I clearly destroyed your soul back then. I should have known it's her. Otherwise, why else would the celestial lord warn us not to interfere? This is all because of this woman. She already did enough damage back then. Now she wants to do it again. You're from the celestial palace? That's right. I am Keeper Ling of the celestial palace. The elder boldly states his title. Oh, then you're the ones who want to slaughter the demons and kill White Tiger and the rest? Bai Yin asks again with her usual calm demeanor, but with a tinge of killing intent showing. Slightly taken aback by that question, Keeper Ling actually scowled. It seems you still remember the past. Those are indeed the deed of the celestial palace. What of it? For the peace of this world, you and the demons must die. You and the demons must die. This sentence completely violated Bai Yan's bottom line, causing her to usher forward the strongest force of aggression. Mother, I'm sorry, I've dragged you into this. Encountering a member of the celestial palace this soon was something out of Bai Yan's expectation. And since the person claims to be a keeper then, he could only be at the demi-divine lord level. Even so, she's not afraid despite the huge gap in strength, and felt relieved that the kids aren't around right now. Don't say that, Yenner. It's me who should apologize because they are coming after me. Bai Ning bitterly smiles due to the helplessness she felt inwardly. Bai Yin on the other hand didn't reply her mother's words though, only looking down to the old goat beside herself. Dragon Flame, I will lift the contract between you and Half Qing Sing in a bit. You leave here immediately. His target is me and my mother. I only want to ask one favor from you. Help me bring my son and daughter to Deetsong, alright? Ningyu's death 1. This woman is going to release me from the contract? Dragon Flame couldn't believe what he was hearing, and went stiff in his body. And at a time like this? Shouldn't she be using us as a shield instead to fend off danger? Why is she allowing me to escape? For a while, a look of disapproving and confused light filled the old goat's eye. In his view, the impression he had of humanity was that of greed, cunning, and selfishness. Finding someone that contradicts his belief was it's making his brain unable to process the reality. Dragon Flame, I don't know if it was really me who locked you down there. But if it were me, then I'm sorry, and is returning your freedom to you. For a long time, the old goat didn't remove his gaze from the lady's face, only staring at her like a baffled child. That was until the power binding his soul to Bai Yin completely disappeared. That's when he realized she didn't lie and spelled the truth. Go! Yelling now. Go as far as you can, don't come back. Tell Xiachen and Dragoni not to avenge me until they get enough strength to do so. Suddenly, an intense force explodes out of Bai Yan's body that pushed the old goat several meters away to give him space to flee. Back over in the inn, Bai Xiachen was very dissatisfied right now as she stared in a bored fashion at Half Qing Sing, who's sitting across from himself on the table. Where did my mother go? Why won't you tell me? I'm Patienta, she was. The snake answers honestly nevertheless. She said you are to not involve yourself in this matter, so just wait here. Bai Xiachen's expression sank at that. Jumping up from his chair, he began to stroll towards the snake to do something. But before the boy could do anything though, Half Qing Sing's face suddenly changed into that of shock and disbelief, causing the kid to also frown at the strange behavior. What's wrong with you? I don't know. Your mother suddenly lifted the soul-binding contract between me and her. She lifted the contract? A dramatic change of color took place across the little steambun's face. Mother must be in danger. I must go find her. No. Seeing the boys about to run out the door, Half Qing Sing hurriedly caught up and blocked the path by holding his shoulder. No, you can't go to her. I promise to keep you safe. Even if the contract between me and her is gone, I will still carry out this last mission out of consideration for keeping her word. Get out of my way. Without any indication, a monumental level of power exploded out of the boy's body, sending the snake flying back several feet before she stumbles to the floor. This sudden increase in strength and oppressive air left the lady in utter dismay. She never expected the child to be this powerful, and instinctively gulped out of fear from the hearts down. Ningyu's death too. Gitch. By then the event had also drawn in Dragoni from her nap. Reaching over to stop the boy as well, she wanted to ask what's going on when he slapped her hand away. The pain stung, of course, and the little missy promptly shrunk her hands back, those eyes timid and sad when looking at the little steambun, who didn't give any words of comfort that he normally would. What's wrong, Gitch? Are you going to find Mother? Can you take me along with you? I can also help protect Mother. Dragoni's pathetic voice did make the kid halt for a second. But that's only for a second before that little body of his disappeared in a gush of wind. For a while, the little missy actually didn't know what to do, and just dumbly stood there after being dismissed like that. Am I too weak? The missy timidly asks the snake behind herself with pursed lips. Coughing to clear the blood from her throat. Half Qing Sing didn't hold back and smirked a grin to play her nasty side. Yep, you're too weak. Hands winding into a tight ball. Dragoni's gaze were stern and hard when staring in the direction which the boy ran off to. I'm going to get stronger. One day I will be very strong. Even if I have to pay a huge price, I won't fail. Due to her own attention still being preoccupied by the sudden disconnect of the soul-binding contract, Half Qing Sing actually didn't realize the little missy had also left moments later, leaving only this snake demoness in the room, by herself grinning like an idiot. Meanwhile, back over in the demon realm, a certain white tiger and blue dragon were playfully flying through the forested terrain at great speed, when the former felt a strange and uncomfortable pang of panic circulating within his heart. Singy, do you feel it? Little Rice asks with nervous eyes. The blue dragon stopped at the call, transforming into a beautiful lady the next. Yes, mistress. She cut the connection with us. I can't feel the contract between us anymore. After saying that, the dragoness clenched her trembling fists until it was making a crunching sound. That's how frustrated she was right now. Do you think something happened to her? It must be. Otherwise, why else would the contract be terminated between us? Mistress must not want to drag us down with her. We can't stick around here like this. I'm going to go find her. Wiping the drop of tear from his feline face, Little Rice mutters, Mistress, you must wait for me. I will be there right away. Unlike the dragoness who only recently returned to Bai Yan's side, Little Rice was personally raised by the lady since birth, so his emotional attachment was much higher than the rest, bordering on the line of a child to a parent. Imagine said parent being in great danger. There's no way the kid would sit idly by and wait. After the brief exchange, both demons didn't hesitate and rushed ahead for the last known direction in which they could tell Bai Yan was in. Though they have no clue where the exact spot was, they are confident in their own abilities to figure that out once they arrive at the celestial realm. Ningyu's death 3. I have lifted the contract with everyone else aside from Deetsong's mother. I got nothing to fear anymore, so do not worry about me. Unlike the familiar contracts between herself and the rest, Deetsong's connection was for life, so she couldn't do it on her own. Nevertheless, she's very confident the consequences of it breaking, if anything happens today, wouldn't kill her husband still, so it's fine. Gently furrowing her brow, Bai Ning attempts to sway the girl to leave after seeing that serious face. Yenner, I can delay this guy for a while. You should leave here first. Mother, revealing a bitter smile, you may not remember the past, but there are some words I must say now in case I don't have that chance anymore. You don't remember me. You don't remember grandfather. But do you remember Yunfeng? Back then the two of you loved each other with your all. And because of that he was locked up for 20 years, and lost his mind for 20 years. You are his entire hope. I can't and I won't let that turn into disappointment. Yunfeng? Bai Ning's face carried a look of pain over the reminder. She remembers Bai Xiachen bringing that name up at one point. Though familiar to her ears, she still couldn't remember who that person was. Can it be? I really do have some sort of relationship with that Yunfeng? Tightly clutching her own head, Bai Ning felt like her brain's about to explode due to the stinging pain. Damn it, I can't remember anything including that Yunfeng. Are you two done talking yet? Keeper Ling cuts in with a faint smile of disinterest. If you've said enough then get ready to meet your end. I'm sure hell will welcome a pair of filthy swines like you two. Due to how cold and bitter his voice was, it immediately drew a reaction from the scum that's standing to one side. Keeper Ling, didn't you say you will help me get Ning'a? What did you mean by those words? Ning Yuan carefully asks. What do I mean? The old elder sneered at the foolish idiot. This woman dared to attack the celestial palace while I and the other keepers were in isolated training, and killed numerous people under us. Do you expect me to leave her be after all the lives she took? Do you expect me to leave her be after all the lives she took? The statement resonating like a clap of thunder in the scum's head, causing him to stumble backwards in horror, as he turned to face the woman he claims to love. So this was the Celestial Palace's goal from the start, to take Ning'er's life? How could I have been so foolish? I clearly knew these people hated her to the core, yet I still brought him here. If Ning'er dies today then it's me who brought this on her. No, you can't treat Ning'er like this, you promised me. You only want to tame that demonic beast under her control. How can you go back on your words? If you act like this then aren't you afraid of the Celestial Palace losing credibility? With every word he spoke came a redder shade of madness in the scum's eye, causing him to tremble with anger in turn as well. Mocking in his grin, Keeper Ling obviously knew the guy would say that when he reveals his true intent. What of it? So what if we go back on our promise to you? Aside from an idiot like you, who else knows about the promise? If no one knows then how can it tarnish the Celestial Palace's reputation? Ningyu's death 4. Ning Yuan's figure openly shook after the burst of outcry. Instead of looking handsome, he's visibly despairing on the face as blood drained from him. I already told you before, your actions will kill Auntie Ning. Gritting fire between her teeth, The petite girl lashes out at the scum, after having her prediction come true. Despite the screaming words from his own daughter, Ning Yuan just blankly stared into the air, and kept at it until the corner of his eye caught sight of the beloved woman he wanted so dearly. Perhaps this scum of humanity did feel regret for his actions right now, and began to realize his own folly. But it didn't matter anymore. Those involved could care less about his emotions. Mother, there's something else I want to tell you. Bai Yan ignored the keeper's threat, and continued to speak. What is it? Bai Ning asks with a surprised note in her voice. My grandfather, uncle, father and grandmother are all waiting for you to come home. So I don't want you to possibly misunderstand them once you regain your memories. The one who secretly attacked you didn't do so under the instruction of grandfather. It's a vile hag who loves father in secret, and did so behind everyone's back. I hope you can forgive father and his side of the family for not knowing, and stopping it in time back then. Pausing, a firm light flickers within Bai Yan's eyes like she's come to term with something. And finally, Mother, I really do love you, I do. In that instant, Bai Ning just stared out in shock over the undeniable confirmation of their bond. She suspected as much, but it's another thing to hear it aloud that it's true. Swish! Suddenly, without giving anyone a chance to react, Bai Yan had pulled out her long sword Godslayer, and slashed down at the ground between herself and her astonished mother. Immediately, a giant crack forms and forced the two apart in order to avoid falling into the chasm. Dragon Flame, take her away. That's the first thing the old goat heard when he realized what Bai Yan had done. Hurrying to grab hold of Bai Ning's arm, this ancient dragon did exactly as ordered and forcibly dragged the woman off. I'm not leaving, my daughter is still there, that's my daughter. Bai Ning's face appeared urgent and frantic, but despite the woman's struggle to break free, her body refused to act like the mind wanted. It's as if the ancient dragon had some strange power, and pinned her to his hands. You let go of me this instant. If you don't let go, then don't blame me for retaliating. Seeing how they're getting further and further away from the valley, Bai Ning's heart became increasingly more dire and stressed. Without thinking, she seriously attacked the old goat with a palm strike wrapped with an incredible amount of her own power. Bang! Spitting out a mouthful of blood from the impact to his chest, Dragon Flame didn't get angry despite his goodwill, and actually spoke kindly for once. You are indeed stronger than that, Ning Yuan. Injuring my body is no easy feat, but unless you are at the Divine Lord level, you can forget about breaking free of my restraints today. I promised her to take you away, so I will do just that. Of course, the lady herself wasn't some pushover either, and the old goat's overestimation of his own strength was a mistake. Before another word could be exchanged, Bai Ning's body abruptly exploded with power, causing a torrent of wind to blow outward and blinding the ancient dragon's eye. Using this momentary lapse in view, Bai Ning instantly broke free from the grasp by sheer physical strength, and ended ripping part of her own dress in the process. This allowed her the opening to fly back towards the valley, where Bai Yin should be still. Unfortunately for this desperate mother, the old goat wasn't someone that could so easily be lost. In mere seconds, Dragon Flame had already caught back up and clung onto the lady's waist like an anchor. Despite the numerous hits Bai Ning threw in frustration of this baggage, the darn dragon just won't let go. This is what I promised her, I won't let go. Dragon Flame gnashes his teeth, and endures despite bruises cover his old face now. Ningyu's Death 5. Scram, you get away from me. Tearing her hearts out. Bai Ning's voice carried a haunted tone like a banshee's scream. That is my daughter, my one and only daughter in this world. I remember everything now. I remember it all. She is the one I've wronged the most. I couldn't protect her when I should, and I gave her up for adoption when I shouldn't have. How can you expect me to stay back and watch? On the opposite side of the valley, Ning Yuan's had widened in shock, constricting inwards due to the fact. How could she have recovered her memories? Just then last ounce of patience has finally seeped out of Keeper Ling's body. Raising his hand, a sharp beam of light shoots out of his finger, and aimed straight for the crying mother, that's quickly flying back over, separated only by an open chasm on the ground. Mother! Bai Yin cried out in extreme fright then, wanting to give chase to the attack and stop it. Sadly, her movements were nowhere close to being in time due to her positioning. Dragon Flame knew this and knew he had to do something. Without giving his brain any time to think, the old goat's body had responded and wanted to forcibly fend off the light beam, using his own sturdy self. However, there was apparently someone else who had the same idea that was also much closer. Bang! Ningyu figure silently stood there as the light pierced through her chest. Then without a single sound, the petite girl wordlessly fell to the ground and hit the bushes. Despite this, her bleakly white face remained a smile as life slowly drained from those eyes. It's clear she wanted this, perhaps as redemption or payment for her own mistakes in life. Bai Ning's heart felt like someone just ripped it right out of her body in that instant. Staring out in absolutely disbelief, the air literally left her lung as she cried out the girl's name. You're, why? Auntie Ning. The words were intermittent between breath because of how weak the girl was. I really am sorry. I really do like you. At the edge of death, Ningyu could honestly tell herself she did love Bai Ning from the hearts down as a motherly figure. She still wishes to be the woman's daughter despite everything. This includes ignoring that demonic beast under her control. However, life doesn't give a person a second chance. Bai Yen had stopped running over as well by this point, her eyes showing struggling indecision at the dying Ningyu, who just saved her own mother. There's no doubt that Bai Yen had assumed the other lass only wanted to get close to Bai Ning for ulterior motives. But after this scene, she couldn't deny she was wrong, dead wrong even. She really did care for my mother. Mother! Coming back to her senses, Bai Yen immediately pulled out a medicinal bottle and threw it over. Take this and give her it. Okay. Catching it like she's catching a lifeline, Bai Ning immediately returned her attention back to Ningyu and popped the cork, trying hard to put the pill into the girl's mouth. Unfortunately, Ningyu had other intentions in mind. Slowly closing her eyes, she resisted the life-saving medicine and brought the desperate lady to the knees. Ningyu's death 7. Bai Yen scoffs a sneer in retort. That's right. I will and I can with my bottom divine strength. Stroking her long sword, a flicker of frost beamed out of the lady's eye. God Slayer, I know a sprite resides within your main body, and that you have awakened. Since the day where she saw this blade absorb the energy within the bronze gate on its own, Bai Yen had already known there's a sprite residing within. She only left the matter alone because the sword immediately went back into slumber. Otherwise she would have tried to dive deeper for more information. But now Bai Yen could no longer wait. She needs the power within this sword. I picked you up not only to be a blade that can only kill. If you don't help me then, I would rather destroy you if you aren't able to do more. Yun. Buzzing from the stimulation, it's clear the words from the woman had roused a tough reaction from the sword. It's protesting to the threat in its own way by humming profusely. Surprised on the face, Keeper Ling immediately revealed his greedy side. I did not expect you to have such a valuable weapon in your hands. What a shame, such a nice sword is wasted on you. Even with its help, you still won't be able to defeat me. Bai Yen didn't get taunted by the provocation, only raising her blade upwards and tossing it behind herself along the crack line. Like a massive wall, the sword grew and grew, massively bigger than its original size, until it's towering like a miniature mountain range. I don't have to use my God Slayer to deal with the likes of you. I just need it to keep my mother from returning to this side of the valley. And like you said, my strength is indeed lacking. Otherwise I could have used the sword to defeat a trash. Squinting those old eyes in, Keeper Ling apparently found the comment insulting. In that case I will first remove you from this world, and then deal with your mother. At the same moment back over on the other side of the valley, Bai Ning was pounding away at the sword's body. No matter how she tried though, she just couldn't make it budge, nor could she fly over due to the strange power restricting flight from the blade. You should stop it now. With your current powers, you are nowhere strong enough to break through its hardness. I know this sword the best. Not only can it cut through the strongest defenses, the sword aura coming off of it can also crush a person into meat paste. Though its abilities are somewhat limited due to your daughter's weakness, it is still more than enough to keep you down on the ground. The old goat's remarks only made the lady more desperate on the face. Throwing another punch to verify the claim. It's exactly as he said, where the flesh and metal clanked together, but with no visible damage. You know I can't do nothing, so let me go. I owe her so much in this life. Now that she's in imminent danger, as a mother, I can't just watch and selfishly protect myself. Ningyu's death 8. Please, I beg of you, let me get over there. By the end of it, Bai Ning's voice had devolved into a pleading mess as she gradually crumbled to the ground. She's desperately pushing against the blade with her hands to no avail. Exactly then, from out of the blue, a powerful gush of wind rolls over from the back, catching the lady's attention. Grandmother, is my mother here? Bai Xiaqin's face was cold and hard, causing those who peer into his red eye to flinch from inherent fear. Slowly nodding, yes, she is. Needing no more confirmation aside from that, Bai Xiaqin's attention shifts towards the only obstacle in his way. Gradually, a thin layer of reddishly blood-lit flame wraps around his fist. Despite the tiny spark of fire, the heat emitting off of it was incredibly intense, that it felt like a burning meteorite to those nearby. Boom! Thankfully Godslayer had a better sense in the brain than those idiots out there in this world. Right before the punch could make contact, the sprite inside sensed the danger and instantly shrank back into its former size to reveal the much-wanted figure across the crack line. Unfortunately, the situation wasn't what Bai Xiaqin wanted to see though. Instead of standing there unharmed, and well like he's always envisioned the lady to be, that rosy red dress had just crashed down from the air and slammed into the ground like a ragged doll. Yenner! Bai Ning's heart literally stopped beating from the horrifying image. She could no longer control her emotions and rushed forward, tightly hugging her daughter's body like a frantic mother. Don't scare me, Yenner. It wasn't easy for me to remember everything. How can you leave me behind so soon? Dragon Flame may not have reacted as strongly there, but he's also standing there in a dull state. It can't be. It looks so serious. She couldn't have died, right? She couldn't have died, right? Everything in the surrounding environment immediately became shut from Bai Xiaqin's senses, leaving only the pounding heartbeat from his chest that indicated his own emotions. My mother's dead? She's been killed. A burst of air exploded out of the boy's body, shrouding him in a visible torrent of tyrannical wind, with changing signs of it surging upwards. Dragon Flame was the only one standing behind the family, so he had the perfect view from his angle. Immediately, a look of horror overtook his eyes as he gulped. What the hell is going on here? Why is this little fella going through such a drastic change, and in such short timing? He not only changed physically, his energy signature also changed. Keeper Ling could barely believe the child that's confronting himself. It's menacing and frightening, just like a sinister monster from the depths of hell itself. Why does the little guy make me tremble just by looking at him? Bai Xiaqin didn't utter a single word in this case. With a light tap of his foot, he was already in front of the elder, his palm reaching out like he wants to clap him out of existence. Of course, the little steambun's strength wasn't at that level yet. He only managed to send the keeper flying back several meters from sheer brute force of his powers. Nevertheless, it's enough to leave the old goat in the background utterly dismayed from such strength. Ningyu's death 9. In light of the turn of the tide following the huge change in the boy's behavior, Dragon Flame didn't find the situation any more comforting. In fact, he's still as tense as when the fighting first began. Seriously, the little guy has completely turned into a different person by this point, like someone possessed by another soul. Suddenly, another force had caught the attention of the old goat from the rear, after he subconsciously inched closer to Bai Ning for safety. Swinging his head around, his view was immediately blasted with the purplish figure zipping over from the horizon. If it was anyone else, then Dragon Flame wouldn't pay too much attention aside from being alarmed by a new entry. But that face was someone he recognized, and it made him go into a dismayed and excited state. It's him. He's alive. I can finally meet him again. But the man wearing the purplish robe did not give any attention to the excited old goat. He rushed right past everyone, and came before Bai Yin like a lightning bolt, and pulled the lady into his embrace. Right out of Bai Ning's grasp, who still hadn't come to terms on what's happening. "Yenna, I'm sorry I'm late. But don't worry. Even if it takes the sacrifice of my own life, I will never let you leave me again." That said, Song promptly pulled out a dagger, and slit the palm of his hand, allowing the golden droplets of blood to trickle down onto his wife's face. Dragonflame was absolutely shocked by this scene. He's stiff and horrified as he spoke. You are going to use your own essence to save her. That is your most precious essence, the life force of us demons. If you use it, then your own life will be in peril." But before the old goat could finish his outcry, Song's next act had left the ancient dragon speechless. It's because instead of using only one droplet of essence that he needed, the Demon King was pouring countless drops down like a rainfall. As a result of this effort, the broken hole in Bai Yan's chest was visibly healing on sight, repairing whatever damage that the woman had sustained from the battle. In hindsight, Song's complexion was also growing pale in return, a clear indication he's giving his life out for his wife. Urgency now filled Dragonflame's eyes. The more he watched, the more rattled he was inwardly, because he just didn't understand why Song would go so far for a human woman. Why? What sort of relationship does he have with her? However, despite the pleading look from the old goat, Song never even flinched for a second, only staring intently down at his unconscious wife in his arms. It's as if the world didn't exist in his world anymore. Only the lovely woman in front of his eyes that he would give everything in this world to save. Enough, that's enough. Dragonflame could no longer keep quiet, and cried out in a frantic manner. What you are doing now isn't just a simple act of giving your essence anymore. You're going to die at this rate. She's already mostly healed. You don't need to keep going. Father's love won. Song acted like he didn't hear a single word from the old goat, and continued to drip his essence blood down from his palm, until he was absolutely sure Bai Yan's wound had healed completely. As a consequence, his complexion had grown increasingly more dire, and even turned a shade of black like someone that's dying. Even so, he pressed onwards until the color of life returned to his wife's face. Once that was confirmed and done, the panic-stricken heart inside the Demon King finally relaxed. However, that doesn't mean he was done here today. Shifting his terribly dark sight over to the one responsible for all this damage, Song's aura instantly sends the temperature of the area down a notch, like the valley had turned into an ice prison. Boom! Bai Xiachen didn't know, or didn't care what's happening behind himself. He only had one thought in his mind right now, and that was to crush this Keeper Ling until he's removed from this world. For that reasoning, his attacks were growing increasingly more ferocious with every punch, and now created shockwaves even if he didn't connect. As a keeper, the elder of course felt indignant at being pressured by a young brat that has barely weaned from his mother's milk. But what he saw next when his eyes fell upon the newly arrived Demon King had sucked the air right out of his lungs. He had the look of horror and disbelief on his old face in that second. Then, without another thought, he instantly retreated and stopped struggling to fight the child. Instead, he made a 180 turn and fled in the opposite direction. Bai Xiachen naturally wouldn't allow this. Having his target flee in his state wasn't an option. Pursing his prey, he threw punches after punches that blew apart the land at every turn. Sadly, just as he's about to catch up to the bastard to give the killing blow, Keeper Ling's body simply disappeared. That's right, the old bastard disappeared out of thin air, leaving only a slight fluctuation in the air, to prove he was there mere seconds ago. Bai Ning hurried to crawl up from the ground, and stared upwards at the boy who continued to attack the terrain mindlessly, until the landscape started to show signs of becoming a barren wasteland. Xiachen, in her anxious state after finding the boy not looking right, the grandmother took to the air in an attempt to calm her grandchild. Unfortunately, the little steambun's fist did not stop despite the pleading cry, and even began to attack the woman with bloodthirsty light in each punch. Bai Ning truly didn't expect to become a target by her very own grandchild. Because of that reasoning, She did not even have time to react. Thankfully someone did, and had grabbed hold of that tiny fist in the nick of time. Otherwise who knows what would happen to the lady's life. Bai Xiachen. The man's voice was low and harsh, his expression unreadable. Do you recognize who I am? The boy didn't reply, only growing increasingly more savage in his aura. Kill everyone in order to avenge mother. Hate and anger had possessed his poor heart at this point. Fluttering his little robe, the boy's magna-like punches began to rain down like a storm once again. But this time it's at his own father. Father's love too. Song's frown had deepened greatly over the behavior of his boy. If it was in the past, then he could most certainly subdue the little steambun using his powers. However, he's lost too much blood from saving Bai Yan, making him incapable despite his will to do so. Coupled with the violent behavior of his son, it's a surefire way to rouse heavy resistance, and that would be dangerous for him and the child. Damn it! He curses, determined on his next course of action. Right as the boy was about to throw another punch, Song had closed the distance and used his arms to grapple Xiachen into a bind. Bai Xiachen, wake up this instant. The Demon King's voice made a heavy blow to the kid's mind in an attempt to bring him back to reality. But clearly Bai Xiachen was too far gone at this point for simple words like a demand to work. Next thing Song knew was the kid biting down at his shoulder and piercing the skin with those fangs like teeth. Hiss! He felt the air suck out of him from the excruciating pain. It's gory and bloody all over his shoulder, but even so, Song refused to let go. What exactly happened, Xiachen? Bai Ning took this chance to get up close, her hands covering her lips after getting a clearer look of the boy's form. He's like a true monster, red-eyed with claws extended. To call Bai Xiachen a werbeast was a good way to describe his current state. Just like the lady, Dragon Flame had also started to tear up in the face. Of course, the distress wasn't over the little steambun's terrible form. He's aching over Song's weakened state and now injured shoulder. But goodwill always gets awarded when offered. Though Song didn't intentionally do it, his blood that seeped into Bai Xiachen's mouth from him biting so much had roused a spark of sanity back into the child. I don't care what you are, but Xiachen is my son, so I will not allow you to hurt him. Song's tone was heavy and commanding while it echoed across the empty valley. It can't be. Something really exists within Xiachen's body? This was the thought that came to Bai Ning and Dragon Flame, who were the only ones left aside from the injured Bai Yan. Unfortunately, that comment from Song only made the boy even more restless and struggled harder from what he already was doing. Mother, I want my mother. They all deserve to die, all die. After saying this, that young face once again surged with killing intent. The red light in his eerie eye glistening with darkness like a monster from depths of hell. Going slightly pale at the sudden change, Song's voice snapped again into an urgent yet harsh tone. Bai Xiachen, your mother is not dead, so snap out of it. Not dead. It seems those two words were the key, like thunderclouds being dispersed to reveal the sunlight behind it. A look of clarity returns to the boy for real this time as he eyes his old man. Mother is not dead. Really not dead. Taking this opening, Song knew what he had to do and chopped down with his hand against the little steambun's neck and sent him limp. What's wrong with Xiachen? Bai Xiachen nervously asks, afraid of what the possibilities are. There is a grudge within his body. It's full of resentment and hate. That's why he would attack anyone and everyone nearby earlier. Father's Love 3. I have already tried to contain that dark grudge in him before, but it's clear the method I used is not useful in the end. If this continues, then he will become a creature of carnage, only knowing how to kill and nothing more. Song explains, his brow furrowing deep and hard. As a woman and as a grandmother, Bai Ning felt great pain that someone so young would have to endure such struggles. This little guy is only 7. Why must he bear so much pain on his shoulder? Here, help me take care of Xiachen for a bit. After handing the boy over to the grandmother, Song then strode towards his wife in light steps across the grass. Due to the sun being directly above the group because of the hour, the light only made that peerless contour of the woman's face even more magnificent. But this wasn't the only attracting feature for the Demon King. That bump along the woman's belly was a huge eye-catcher, which brought him to the knees. Under normal circumstances and logically speaking, after Bai Yin suffered this much damage to her body, she should have lost the baby inside already. However, in the moment where his hands reached down to touch the fetus, a golden light glowed from within the womb and wowed the troubled husband. Naturally, finding the unborn baby safe and sound was a glorious news to the anticipating father. But he's also worried but grateful at the same time. There's an unknown force protecting the fetus. It's abnormal and a sign of greater power at play. And that was something he couldn't control. I will take my wife back to rest first. My subordinates will come later to retrieve the rest of you later. Bai Ning was taken aback at first over that message, but she quickly nodded after coming to the fact that it's for the best. That please take care of Yenner then. Not replying, Ditsong first gazed down to the sleeping beauty in his arms before showing a faint smile of comfort. She is my wife. I will of course love her with my all and take care of her. This attitude from her son-in-law had left Bai Ning befuddled with complex emotions. Originally she didn't like this man when he appeared, but after witnessing how far he would go for her own daughter, the grandmother could deny her view has changed. She's starting to accept him from the hearts down. Does your shoulder need tending too? The lady asks after noticing the blood still trickling out of the wound. Casting a look down at his own shoulder, a cunning smirk escaped the dastardly Demon King. This injury won't hinder my movement, so it's fine to leave it as is. Once Xiachen wakes up, I will tell him this is done by him. Knowing his personality, my boy will feel guilty and remorseful. By then I can use that as a threat to make him stop competing for Yenner's attention with me. Bai Ning couldn't stop the twitching in the corner of her own mouth after hearing that ridiculous reasoning. Competing for Yenner's attention with me? Is he seriously jealous of his own son? Nevertheless, Bai Ning's tense heart did ease up after hearing how relaxed the man was in the way he spoke, showing a soft smile of her own. Then hurry and bring Yenner back to rest. I will first deal with the matters here before taking Xiachen back with me to find you. After that, Ditsong wasted no time and disappeared from the valley, his figure gone and out of view in an instant. Father's love for. Turning around to meet the scum's face after the Demon King had left with her daughter, Bai Ning's expression was cold and unkind. I remember everything. This sentence instantly sends Ning Yuan into a trembling panic, as he stared at that face whom he dreamed for years to have. You erase my memories because I repeatedly rejected you back then. Did it ever cross your mind that this day would come? That said, she then began to walk slowly towards the scum, her steps measured and powerful. Ninger, I only did all that because I love you too much. That's why I did all those things. Love? She scoffs a sarcastic sneer. I rather not have this sort of crazy love from you. Not to mention I have a child and husband. Based on what can you make me forget them and accept you? The downgrading remarks from the lady had left the scum humiliated and shamed, evident by the clenched fist he's making. Even so, Ning Yuan regrets nothing. Since that year where he first lay eyes on Bai Ning climbing up from the cliff in her blood-ridden state, he has fallen heads over heels for her, and could never get out of that quagmire. He thought he could get the woman to accept him once she loses her memories, which he believes any love-stricken man would do if they're being rejected as so. However, history has proven him wrong, very wrong. How can you be so cruel to me, Ning? I offered up so much, paid so much. Ning Yuan's voice trembled with the note of deep scarring pain, which pierced straight into his bones. Why should I accept a dark-hearted person like you? Bai Ning unequivocally shuts the scum down. My husband is an honest and upright man in this world, even if he is not as strong as you. But in my mind, he is a hero, while you are nothing but a wretched little man. While you are nothing but a wretched little man. Her last sentence rumbled like a rolling thunder, blasting the scum backwards. So in her eyes I'm nothing but a wretched little man? How laughable. With his eyes closed, Ning Yuan's face was full of grief and pain until he opened them again. This time he's pleading. Then can you let me go out of consideration for accompanying you for all these years? Ha ha ha. Bai Ning suddenly bursts into a hysterical laughing fit, her voice mad and crazy sounding. Let you go? You ripped my past from me and had me forget my own husband and daughter. Why should I let a bastard like you go who stole all those precious moments from my life? But if things hadn't gone this way today, I might have spared your life out of concern for you. But you killed her, then tried to kill my flesh and blood as well today. Which part of your behavior warrants mercy? Tell me which part. No. Ning Yuan stumbles another step back, his head shaking like he's refusing reality. The ones who wanted to hurt your daughter is the Celestial Palace. I'm innocent. Innocent. She chuckles with an icy note. If not for you, would they have known to come here and ambush us? If not for you, would you be dead? If not for you, would my daughter's life be in peril? And if not for you, would my grandson have been provoked and devolved into that state? Father's love 5. So the culprit of all this is you. Gritting her teeth, anger burns within the lady's eye as she pounced before the scum could utter more insulting words to defend himself. There's a huge bone-crunching sound when that punch landed along the chest. This punch is for myself. You caused me to forget my husband and child, and you also made them search for me for years. Bang! A huge dent imprinted itself into Ning Yuan's chest now, causing him to spew out blood from the mouth like a sprinkling fountain. This punch is for you. You as a father failed her. Not only did you not properly educate her to be a good person, you also caused her death with your own conceited selfishness. I bet the reason she bullied my daughter is because of you goading her along that path too. Bang! With another punch coming down, Ning Yuan's face of pleading now turns to fear. The following punches are all for my daughter. If it wasn't for you, then she wouldn't have suffered such a severe injury. You will never be able to make up for the damage. That said, the lady's fist rained down like a storm, whisking away and pounding down relentlessly until the last breath was sucked out of the scum's throat. In the end, the bastard meets his end by sheer brute force, a fateful end he never expected for himself. Dragon Flame appeared stunned by the brutality portrayed by Bai Ning's ferocity. It's one thing to beat a man to a pulp. It's another to turn him into mincemeat like an Amazonian huntress. Dragon Flame. Bai Ning retracts her bloodstained fist. Go back and find Dragoni, take her to Yenner's side. Me and Xiaqin will clean up here first before joining them. Giving a slight nod. Okay, I will go back first. I also want to see if Half Qing Xing fled yet. Just now Bai Yan not only broke the bond between himself and her, she also likely applied it to that snake. So he's very anxious to get back and make that damnable woman pay for all the crap he had to go through in the underground world. Back over in the inn, Half Qing Xing didn't run away like some thought she would. Rather, she's sitting there with a dull face like she's mulling over some dilemma, mainly on why Bai Yan would terminate their contract without a single word. Then, without any indication, the door to the room was blown open, rattling from the sheer strength of the knock. Hurrying to get due to the intrusion, the lady didn't know who or what would attack at this time, but she wasn't going to take any chances. However, that old figure reflecting into her eyes sent her hair rising from fright. In the past there was Bai Yan's contract to keep the old goat at bay and snuffing her life out. But clearly that's gone by this point, meaning there's nothing holding back Dragon Flame from exacting his much-delayed vengeance. Father's love 6. You, what are you going to do? Stalked against a wall with her back, Half Qing Xing appeared frantic and afraid at the old goat's menacing face. She uncontracted us already, why did you not run away? Dragon Flame furrows his brow and asks with a frosty voice after finding the snake still around, clattering on the teeth. Is it too late if I leave now? The old goat sneered at that. What do you think? The countering question nearly sucked the soul out of the woman's chest, and because of that reasoning, she couldn't utter a single word due to the intense fear. Do you think you can still escape after all the things you did to me over the years? A sinister sneer draws itself into the elder's face as he stared down at the trembling-legged woman. Even if she lets you go, I won't let you. Biting her own lips at the impending future, she musters up the courage to speak. Then what do you want to do to me? Simple, she may have removed the contract on you, but she's still alive and was saved. You will renew the bond with her once we meet up again. Otherwise I will kill you now, and be done with this. When he finished saying that, a surge of killing intent filled the old goat's body and turned him into a killing machine. Wide-eyed in surprise, she blubbers out her next words. You mean to have me continue my bond with her? Don't you want to be free? This is a rare opportunity for us. Besides, don't you hate her before? Why are you giving up such a good chance? The old goat snorted. I'm not regretting that decision, how about that? I will give you your choices. One to be her servant again, the other is I kill you now. Shuddering at the notion, Ching Sing really struggled with the options, because she's being forced to give up her freedom for a second time. However, when confronting with the murderous face of the old goat, the snake lady knew she had no other choice. Thinking up to here, she huffs a breath of frustration and spoke. Fine, I will do it then. Not like I didn't serve her before. But I don't understand. Why did she release us in the first place? Shooting a look at the snake, Dragon Flame faintly mutters out his inner thoughts that left her frozen. Perhaps we misunderstood here before. We misunderstood here before? That woman is cunning and sly, but she is indeed not one to go back on her words. Also, she did take us out of that place, though she tied us with that contract. However, I believe she only forced that on us in order to secure her own safety. The old goat then sighed like he's coming to terms with the facts. But when the face of danger, she chose to release us in order to not drag us in with her. From that moment I understood. We've been misunderstanding her. She is a bright and open person, unlike most of those rotten humans out there, who would turn on us demons at the closest opportune moment. We're not just shields and tools to her. We're real living beings to her. Such a person is worthy of our admiration. All those positive comments have left Ching Sing silent and confused, her eyes muddled with complex emotions. Truth was, it wouldn't have taken long for the snake to come to the realization of why Bai Yin did all that. But the biased presumption of a human choosing to protect a demon while their own life was in danger still lingered in the lady's head. That's not going to change anytime soon. Right, where is that little dragoness? I promised Madame Bai Ning that I will take her with me. At the beginning the old goat would only address Bai Ning by her name. Never did he call her Madame. However, that's going to change, since he's sincerely willing to follow Bai Yin from now on. Giving the woman's mother the title of Madam was adequate and proper, a good sign of loyalty. 3-month 1. Ching Sing just stood there for a while before answering. That girl was just here a while ago. She should be here still somewhere. Let's go to her room and search. That's all Dragon Flame needed to hear for him to leave this room for the little missies. However, the expected scene of a little girl sitting in the room never came. Only empty space and an open window with the sun shining in. It's peacefully quiet without a speck of movement. Frowning at this picture. Where's the girl? Is she not supposed to be here? Hurry and look Ching Sing. She's the woman's lifeblood as well. We can't afford to have anything happen to her. Tensing up inside, the snake demoness felt an incredible level of unease. Okay, let's do that. She promised to take care of the kids while Bai Yin was away. Failing to keep the little steam bun away was already a huge blunder on her part. If she also fails to secure Dragoni's safety, then what did she do right so far? Wait, Dragon Flame calls out right when the snake's about to run out to search. You have always been cunning and sly, so I don't trust you to be alone. Stay with me and we will go together. Right after that statement, Ching Sing's expression could be seen visibly deflated with annoyance. However, she's also urgent to find the little missy, so she didn't argue with the old goat. Giving her partner a hard stare, she began to examine the room and the corridor for clues of where the girl was. Then that's when they discovered the note left on the table in the room. The content was as following. Gidge big brother. Went to find mother so she and him will be very safe. I don't want to be a baggage, so I'm going off on my own to improve myself. When I grow strong enough, I will return on my own, so please let my mother know. Thank you, Sister Ching Sing. Sincerely yours. Dragoni. After reading it twice over, Ching Sing's hand had started shaking hard, and her complexion paled into a dreary white. There are beads of sweating coming out as well. The last left. Dragon Flame also read the note by peeking down from the snake's shoulder. Let's go then. This letter should be enough for us to go back. She won't blame us if the girl herself decides to leave. Hold on. Why are you acting so afraid? Did you do something? The snake demoness was already frightened enough. Now to be called out. It's normal for her to spill the bean. She asked me if she was weak before, so I told her the truth. I really didn't think she would run away from home. If we got down to it, I'm responsible for this mess. The old goat didn't make any sly or downgrading comments of the snake's dejected appearance, only showing a frown and musing over the issue. Don't dwell on the matter too much. I can tell the lass left quite a while ago already. What's more, her lineage is not normal. I can tell when it resonated with my own. Perhaps this outing will be a chance for her to grow. Speaking up to here, Dragon Flame decides to urge the lady to move it, so they could stop wasting time here. Let's go, we can't do much else anyways. I'm sure no one will blame you for this, since the note already explained everything. In the old goat's mind, he wants to catch up to Bai Ning before she leaves. If they depart now, then there's still time to meet up. Without another words, that elder's figure was gone and disappeared into sky. 3 months too. Finding her partner already gone, Half Ching Sing had no other reason to stay and quickly followed suit. Demon City. The sky around this settlement seems to be perennially shrouded in gloom lately after the king and queen returned 3 months ago. The event should have been a joyous occasion for these demons who had their ruler return. Sadly, the queen herself had fallen into a coma since, leaving the king sleepless and worried on her bedside. In fact, aside from the young prince and Bai Yan's birth mother Bai Ning, no one could get an audience with Di Tsang. Not even First Elder, who had been shut out when he sought to meet him. At this moment inside the exquisite-looking bedchamber, Di Tsang's appearance was ragged with an unkempt beard and eyes sinking in due to the lack of sleep. Yenner, it's already been 3 months. You've been asleep for 3 months. If you don't wake up soon, then our daughter won't be born. Do you not see? Our child is so strong. Even though you suffered so much damage, she didn't leave us. That's her way of telling us she wants to come to this world. For her sake and your own, please return to me. I know you can't bear to make her disappear, right? I won't let anything happen to you, I promise. Even if it costs me my all, I will let you live. Bringing his wife's hand up to his lip, he kisses it gently like some sort of vow on his part. Sadly, such emotional words didn't get any direct response from the sleeping beauty, but that doesn't mean there wasn't any. Right when the pained husband said all that like a summoning spell, the eyelashes around the woman's face clearly fluttered slightly, a clear sign she's reacting to something, just not sure what it was. In the depths of Bai Yan's consciousness, her soul was wandering through an endless void of light like she's searching for something. Mother! Mother! Suddenly, a faint and mild cry came from the rear and drew her attention. Xiachen. Finding that adorable and familiar face of her boy, Bai Yan didn't hesitate and ran up to give her son a tight hug. Perhaps it's the condition she's in, or she's just so used to the child's appearance already that she didn't notice. But the Bai Xiachen standing there wasn't normal in any way or form. Mother, why did you abandon me? Donning a purple robe with eyes red as a blood moon. There's grief and tear coming out of the boy's existence. You are my precious baby. How can I bear to abandon you? Bai Yan hugs even tighter after hearing those words. You did abandon me because you've forgotten about me. I clearly love you so much, Mother. I was looking forward to being with you, so why did you abandon me? The little boy's body shook non-stop after saying that, allowing his tears to freely flow down those cheeks as his hands clutched tightly around Bai Yan's sleeve. Am I a bad boy? That's why you don't want me? The more he spoke, the more saddened his voice became until it's starting to get a bit creeped to the ear. Then without any indication, that innocent and cute face transformed. No longer the cuddly and lovable face. It's dark and dry like that of a ghoul. A being full of malice and hate for this world. Those who want to break us up all deserves to die. I will kill them all. This world doesn't need anyone else. It only needs us. 3 month 3. Greatly startled by the change, Bai Yin rigidly but surely loosened her arms around the boy, and found what she dreaded and feared the most. There's not an ounce of the playfulness she's come to expect in her own son. There's only bloodthirstiness and death around this creature. But perhaps it's regret, or the guilt. But this mother didn't push the ghoul-like creature away, and instead wrapped her arms tightly around the boy's body. Gentle in her voice. Xiaochen, I failed in protecting you back then, and allowed you to leave me. In this life I promise you, I will not let any danger come your way, and not let anyone separate us again. Don't live with resentment and grudge, okay? The killing intent in the ghouls I didn't recede despite the plead, only growing stronger and worse. No, I'm going to kill everyone in the celestial realm. Everyone must die. Boom. Suddenly, an incredible force explodes out of the child's body, causing Bai Yin to stumble back a few steps, and shocking the poor mother. Bai Yin couldn't even recognize her own son anymore at this point. Thankfully the lady's motherly instinct kicked in, and said contrary. Otherwise she wouldn't be standing here anymore. Batty, you're not allowed to hurt mother. It's then a light gushed out of the ghoul, and attacked the red-eyed monster. With the exact same contour, but with an energized life to that face. This child had big blue eyes that was clear as a summer day. Tu Xiaochen, Bai Yin mumbles to herself in astonishment. Get lost. The ghoul version of the little steam bun cries out, and raises a punch in self-defense from the other version of himself. You coward, can't even protect your own mother. If it wasn't for the fact that I would die if you do, then I would have killed you long ago. I am not a coward. Light Xiaochen quickly gets up from the ground after being knocked over, his face stubborn. You will make mother sad if you do this. I won't let anyone make her sad, not even myself. If you dare make her leak a drop of tear, then I will destroy myself. By then you won't exist anymore. Will she be sad? The little ghoul went silent, not saying a word. But those people made me leave her for so many years, I won't forgive them. What's more, I will make the people of this world pay for the pain I had to endure. Shocked by the two confronting boys that resembled her own son in different ways, one dark and one light, Bai Yin didn't know what to do. But right as she's about to approach the light version, since he gave off a gentler aura, the lady suddenly noticed the glimmer of sadness in the dark version. Immediately, a wave of guilt stopped her in her steps and caused those hands to reach out without thought. At first the resentment in the ghoul boys' eyes still burned with fury, but that changed after the initial stiffness over the physical contact with the woman. Those small little hands also reached out reactively for a hug. However, right when the two's about to embrace each other heartily for comfort, a bloom of light emerges from both the dark and light version of the little steam bun, sending the two away in a blink of an eye. Xiaochen, anxious on the face now, Bai Yin searched everywhere for her child to no avail. There's only emptiness in this space, and the atmosphere was growing increasingly more unusual. It hurts. Crouching down, she clenches her chest at the constant thumping around the heart. She didn't miss the agony and pain the dark version showed. He must have been lonely with me. 3-month 4. It's at this precise moment that a golden light fell from above, shrouding and soaking the woman's body in its glow. It's like a spring, refreshing and rejuvenating Bai Yan's injury. And then, a frenzy ensues with her internal energy. The bottom divine middle rank, bottom divine high rank, middle divine bottom rank. Bai Yin appeared dumbfounded on the face as the energy poured into her core. She didn't know why that golden light would give her such huge breakthroughs. What is happening in the outside world? At the same time back outside in the demon city, the sky has become riddled with thundering rumbles, due to the ladies leveling up. It's violent and dangerous, sending all those weaker and afraid fleeing for their lives. Boom! As if called upon, a huge thunder strikes down, shattering the bed chamber in which Bai Yin slept, and sending the building shattering into pieces. By the time the demons closest to the palace came back to their senses, and realized what has happened, they all rushed for the epicenter in order to investigate. When they did so, all they saw were Di Song holding that gorgeous queen of theirs in his arms, ignoring the constant attacks from the sky like it's unimportant. The king saved the queen with his own blood, That's the same as transferring an incredible amount of power into the queen. First elder stood behind crowd and explained. But why is this happening 3 months later? The blood should have roused this breakthrough long ago if it was effective. Sire. A guard hurriedly ran over, his face pale and anxious with sweat. The prince is awake, but something is wrong with him, like he's lost his mind. Despite the bad news, Ditsong didn't give any reactionary reply to the palace guard, only faintly smiling down at his lovely wife, who was still asleep in her slumber. Yenner, you've been asleep long enough, it's been more than 3 months. If you don't wake up again, perhaps the one to go crazy won't be Xiaochen, it will be me. Maybe his cry of pain was the final key, but Bai Yan's tightly closed eyes finally began to show signs of movement and began to flutter. Sure enough, as the woman slowly comes to, so did the thundering storm high above their heads disperse. Ditsong. Her murmur was full of infinite tenderness, causing Ditsong to sink even further into his love-stricken state until he couldn't pull out at all. Yenna, you're finally awake. Lips smiling, the Demon King's hair continues to blow with the wind, only a bit messy and without his original style of finesse. Even so, the woman there didn't mind the unkempt appearance. She only felt pain at his terrible state. Reaching up with her hand to gently touch that burly chin. How did you become like this? Will you not like me anymore if I'm like this? No, I will take you no matter what you become. Whether it be the haggard version of him, or the peerless version of him, I will take him as is. That brought on a huge grin to the dumb man's face. He's given her his all, and in return she's willing to accept him as is. Regardless of him being strong or powerful, weak or frail, she would take him still. 3-month 5. But I am willing to use my best posture and style to accompany you for life. It doesn't matter if you don't mind, Yenner. I still want to look my best around you. Ditsong's sweet words were honey to the ear, leaving those females nearby sour and grouchy from jealousy. Alright, I was dreaming just now. I saw 2 Zyakins in there arguing with each other. One is the Xiaochen who always accompanied me. The other is one I never met before. It hurts me inside when I saw him like that, saddened and angry. Ditsong's hand stalled for a second when the topic was brought up. It's obvious he knows the reasoning, and why such a creature would appear in his wife's dream. You know what's going on, right? Bai Yan catches on and pressed for an answer. It took a while for the protective husband to reply. But he did, and it wasn't pleasant. Do you still remember that dream where you died while being still pregnant? A touch of pain filled the lady's heart at the mention. The child died before he was born, so it left a resenting grudge in his soul. When reincarnated, the grudge will follow him. In other words, Bai Xiaochen only had one soul, and not 2 like some would presume. But because of that tragic death in his previous life, the resentment followed suit, and created 2 differing personalities. Because of hatred, his strength is abnormally strong, but it's also because of that hatred that he cannot control that part of himself. I originally wanted to use my powers to subdue that wisp of grudge for a while, but in order to reassure his wife, the man inches closer to act as support. He can no longer be provoked again, otherwise he will lose control completely. Tensing up with unease. Then what are we going to do about Xiaochen? Don't worry, Yenner. That resenting grudge doesn't have a soul of its own, so he can't replace our boy. If he does anything to Xiaochen, then he too will suffer the consequences. However, I'm only worried about the grudge occupying his body. I have to find a way to make it disappear forever. Disappear forever? Bai Yan's complexion went visibly whiter at the notion. She hasn't forgotten the intense pain and grievance in the dark Xiaochen's face when they met. Yenner, I know you're reluctant to do that, but a wisp of grudging resentment doesn't have a soul, meaning it's not an actual life form. If it was otherwise, I wouldn't take this route either. Shaking her head in disagreement, Bai Yan clings onto her husband's sleeve. There must be another way. I saw how much sadness there was in his eyes. How can I abandon him when I couldn't protect him properly before? He's still my child regardless of what he has become. Even if he doesn't have a soul, even if there is no life, even if he's only some sort of resenting grudge, he still called me mother. Seeing the anxious face from his wife, Ditsong knew he couldn't say no. with a faint smile. Okay, we will find another way. I'm sure there's some method to please everyone. 3 months 6. Shook by the amount of love she herself was getting despite not doing as much, Bai Yan's face was all full of guilt and apology. Deed Song, I'm sorry. You don't have to say sorry. I only don't want you to be sad, that's all. For that goal, I'm willing to give my everything for you. Hearing the dialogue between the couple, First Elder, who had originally wanted to speak up, began to hesitate. It's no secret that two souls are unable to occupy a single body. It would create too much conflicting interests, let alone a resenting grudge from a past life. However, that doesn't mean the others here are aware of this fact. Sire. The guard who came earlier to report the little steambun's condition spoke again, his body shaky from discomfort. The prince has lost his mind. Would you like to go see him? Like before, Deed Song didn't pay too much attention to the message that's meant for him. But that doesn't mean Bai Yin wouldn't. Right after the palace guard made that report, the woman immediately jumped down from her husband's arm and shouted, "Why are you still standing there for? Hurry and lead the way." "Yes, Queen." The poor guard complies and wipes the sweat from his face. It's always like this whenever Her Highness is around. The king will ignore the prince and focus only on the queen. Thankfully Her Highness is a normal mother. Otherwise the prince will be too pitiful. Inside the room, Bai Xiachen had calmed down from his rampaging state by this point, and was huddling in the corner of his bedside, staring mindlessly at the air like some damaged product. Thankfully this troublesome picture didn't last long, because his ears perked up as soon as they picked up the familiar footsteps he's been so accustomed to. "Mother!" He bolted for the door, and nearly crashed right into Bai Yan's body. Fortunately his eyes were sharp and noticed the big bump along the belly. That made him stop in the nick of time, and return to his well-behaved and happy self in the past. Deed Song followed right from behind his wife there. When he saw the wagging tail picture of his son, this biased father couldn't deny he felt a bit of relief from this. The only blemish he had to complain about was the little guy's reddish eye. It's the sign that he's not all right, and this peace was only temporary. Bai Yin on the other hand didn't care so much, and only knew her boy was safe before her eyes. Bending down, she gives him a huge warm hug without saying anything. "Mother, what's the matter? I can't breathe." Turning red in his little face, the boy was apparently suffocating under those arms. "Just now they said you lost your mind, that scared me to death. Thank goodness you're fine." "Oh, that bastard was trying to take over my body again. I kicked him out as soon as I can, because I know he will make you sad, mother." Under normal circumstances, that pang of resentment wouldn't be able to overcome the real Xiachen. That was unless he got stimulated by some sort of traumatic event. In that case, anything was up for grabs. Going numb inside, Bai Yin wanted to slap herself for the failure. "Xiachen, no matter what happens you will always be mother's son, you understand? I don't care if it's that version of you, or this version, I don't care." "No." The little steambun unexpectedly shakes his head in refute. "Mother, just now me and that bastard saw you in our dream. He was relatively normal until he took control of my body. I can tell he was very angry, and might even hurt you, because he won't be able to recognize anyone. I'm afraid he will end up doing something I will regret." Bai Yin had nothing to add to that, because she didn't know what to say. Just the memory of that dark version would bring excruciating heartache to the woman herself, especially those sorrowful and sad eyes. It's pounding and ripping at her inside. "Anyways, mother, why is your tummy so much bigger as soon as I wake up? Is my sister about to come out?" That said, the boy's contrasting red and blue eyes were sparkling with lustering light like the stars in the sky. 3 months 6. Only then did Bai Yin notice her own belly, who was much larger than before. Flashing a look of surprise, "Deed Song, how long did I say asleep?" 3 months. Deed Song answers with his gentle voice. This news undoubtedly brought a sigh of relief for the expected mother, because 3 months meant there are still some time before she goes into labor. Imagine not waking up. Then that really would be catastrophic. "Promise me, Deed Song, you must wake me up no matter what happens in the future. I don't want my baby to be in any danger." tightly holding his wife's hand. Sorry, I failed to protect you. If I had appeared earlier, perhaps Yenner wouldn't have suffered such a serious injury. It's not your fault, Deetsong. It's me who left by myself, so the fault is not yours. That said, Bai Yin then shifts her attention over to her son. Xiaochen, I'm glad you are safe. If something like this happens again, you must promise me to not come out again, okay? She cares about that wisp of grudge inside. There's no question about that. But she also equally worried for the main soul. If somehow one overcomes the other, then what was she going to do? Bai Yin couldn't bear to destroy one to save the other. Careful and gentle in his hands, Bai Xiaochen wraps himself around that bulging belly. I will protect you, mother. If I can't do it, then I would rather disappear on my own. Casting his eyes downward in a dejected manner. If only that bastard didn't lose control whenever he takes control of our body. Otherwise I can still work with him. Now the only way to make him sane is to use that method, but it will mean me leaving mother forever. What am I supposed to do? There are tears filling those eyes of his, making the boy look all the more pitiful. Oh, Xiaochen. Leaning down to give her son a hug, Bai Yin didn't notice the abnormality of her son's behavior. You will not disappear. I won't let that happen. Making a huge grin at the promise, those words were honey to the boy's ear. I am very fond of mother too, so I don't want to leave either. I can't. Besides, the boy still hasn't taken care of his sister yet. What if the other version of himself starts bullying her? So, whether it be for this world or his little sister, the little steam bun didn't have the heart to leave for good. By the way, where's Dragoni? Bai Yin suddenly thought of something which caused her to raise an eyebrow. Normally she would run to me whenever I wake up. How come she's not here? Deetsong was taken aback by the reminder. According to his memory, the lass hasn't shown herself ever since everyone arrived at the city and came to the newly constructed palace here. The old goat had the answer to the question. Shaky in his tone. She already left. Left? Bai Yan's heart sunk as a look of unease filled the poor lady's eye. You said Dragoni left where? She shouldn't have anyone familiar in this place. Dead one. She had already left when I went back to find her. Here's the note from the last that I found. Dragon Flame saw the anxious expression along the woman's face and knew he must explain himself. Taking letter as handed, Bai Yan's complexion went visibly paler after reading its content. Dragoni's gone? How is she supposed to stay safe? This is not the demon realm. There's too many dangers around. Deetsong, you must send someone to find her. The poor mother's voice rippled with panic and fear, showing how anxious she truly was inside. Hurrying to give his wife a hug to calm her swinging mood. It's okay, Yenner. I will do exactly that. Don't worry too much. That girl's bloodline belongs to that person, so she might not necessarily be in as much danger as you think. Perhaps this outing by herself is a chance for her to grow. You should know by being with us, she won't be able to mature. Don't worry. How can I not worry? Dragoni is only a child at heart, not to mention she's girl. What if some bad people start picking or hurting her? She gets frightened easily. It was not easy for her to find a safe harbor with us, after all the grievances she went through since birth. Why would she leave us all of a sudden? Even though Dragoni wasn't her biological daughter, Bai Yin nevertheless treats the girl as her own, and never once considered her an outsider. So how could she not be afraid and worried? It's ridiculous to consider otherwise. Then I'll have my people go search right away. Turning around to the palace guards behind himself, Deetsong snaps with harshness despite the other side doing nothing. Didn't you hear your queen's order? Go and find the princess now. Yes, your majesty. Complying, the remainder of the demons left in rapid succession. Don't worry, Yenner, I've sent them all out. It won't be long until we locate her. Perhaps it's due to the low hoarse voice of the man's tone, but it was enough to bring the panic-stricken lady out of her swinging mood. Deetsong, I know the reasoning of her choice, but her heart is so innocent and kind. I can't bear knowing there are sinister characters out there who might take advantage of this fact. The price of learning the hard truth is too high for someone like her. That said, she then gives her tummy a rub. This opinion of mine has only grown stronger now that I have a second one coming. I would rather my children grow up in mediocrity than to live a life of hardship, just because they want to be exceptional. Mother. The little steambun tugs at his mother's sleeve after hearing all those heartfelt words. I know Dragoni also wants to protect you, just like I want to protect you. Believe in us. Once she gets stronger, then she will return to us. I know I will if I was in her case. Bai Yan's heart shook at the sensibleness of her lovely and cuddly boy. Smiling on the face. You are right, Xiachen. If Dragoni insists on leaving, then there's nothing we can do. Even if we locate her, it doesn't mean she would willingly come back. I don't want to force anything on her. So Deetsong, you only need to have your people locate Dragoni and protect her in the shadows. I only need to know she's safe. Dead too? Alright. Gently stroking his fingers through his wife's hair. Deetsong's warm, gentle smile was dazzling despite his ragged appearance. She is a daughter you took in, so she is mine as well. I won't let others hurt our children. That remark brought a displeased look from the little steambun, puckering his lips to the side. Batty father, how come you're never this good to me? Sweeping over his gaze immediately at the jab, the Demon King's look was hard and stern, like a father lecturing a child. You are the prince of the demon realm, a man of our D family. As a man, you have a duty to protect your mother and sister. How do you expect me to spoil you if you got that on your shoulder? That didn't make the young boy angry at all. Instead, it brought a burning fire of proudness to the kid's face. You are right, Batty father. I am a man, and a man is used to spoil girls. I will assume the heavy responsibility of protecting mother and my sister, as well as the citizens of the demon realm. Watching the two males in her life acting so childish and silly, Bai Yan's tensed heart up until now finally died down. In fact, she was so amused that a giggle escaped her lips before she could turn back to the old goat and snake. Anyways, I've been meaning to ask you two before. How come the both of you are still here despite me breaking the contract with you two? Dragonflame didn't respond right away, only carefully looking towards Deetsong for help. When the old goat saw the Demon King had no intention of intervening, a rock could be heard dropping inside over the lack of attention. How come he's looking at me like he doesn't know me? I'm not wrong, the energy signature from his soul is clearly the same as that one. Also, why does it look like no one remembers anything? And how did he become the king of a demon realm? But, despite all the woes and questions hovering around the old goat's heart, he didn't bring it to the open and kept it inside for now. In my impression of humanity, your kind have always been sinister, cunning, cruel, and vicious. But you changed my opinion of that, because you didn't use us as shields during time of danger. You set us free, for that I am grateful. This time I am willing to contract with you of my own volition. This decision from the old goat was beyond what Bai Yan expected, and that caused her to raise a brow. She didn't have any other motives when lifting the contracts with these two before. After all, she was going to die anyways according to her own assumption. Why drag someone else down with her? Not like they have some sort of deep grudge for one another. You don't hate me anymore? I remember you wanted to skin me alive and drink my blood. That's what you said, wasn't it? That comment instantly roused a drop of cold sweat from the poor elder's face. Dragonflame could already see the death glare coming off of Deetsong from the corner of his eye. Dead 3. Half Ching Sing promptly showed a surprised expression after the ritual was complete, because of what she sensed. Before, the relationship between herself and Bai Yan was that of slave and mistress, meaning she had to do whatever the woman said under duress. However, this time she's been upgraded to a servant familiar status, meaning she's still connected, but her life's not on the line anymore, and could refuse an order if she doesn't like it. I'm done forming the contract with the both of you now, so the two of you can go back to your rooms if you like. Turning to her husband, Deetsong, is my mother here? I want to go see her. Okay, I'll take you to her. She's in the neighboring garden around the back of the palace. Sitting inside a pavilion constructed at the middle of a man-made pond, Bai Ning was currently staring up into the open sky like she's lost in thought about something. But her trance didn't last long when the familiar sound of footsteps brought her back to reality. You've broken into the middle divine level? The woman asks in astonishment after noticing her daughter's breakthrough. Bai Yan faintly nods in confirmation. Yes, mother. I just did after waking up. I see, that huge disturbance is because of you then. Slowly coming forward, those tender eyes of this mother surprisingly turns to her son-in-law instead. Can I have a moment with my daughter? I have a few things I like to speak to her about. Deedsong naturally wouldn't object, and nodded in agreement. I'll wait for you in the front. Take your time if you need to. Okay, Deedsong, don't worry, it won't be too long. That said, Bai Yin returns her gaze back over to Bai Ning's face. Their contour was very similar, close enough to be called sisters, even if not for the age difference. No matter how well-maintained Bai Ning's contour was, she's still coming up to 40 in age. There's bound to be some subtle differences between the two. For example, the lady was much more mature, and had on an air of strength from experience that Bai Yin lacked. Visit my site on Translation if you wish to read ahead of public releases. Yenner, I'll admit I was initially very dissatisfied with this husband of yours at the beginning, but it seems I'm wrong about him from the start. He cares about you a lot, and I can see that now. Patting her daughter's hand, Bai Ning's smile was all tender and kind, marred only by the speck of sadness in the woman's eyes, due to her own yearning for the other half. 20 years, I wonder how he's doing now. Is he okay? Mother, do you remember everything from the past now? Asked Bai Yan after a minute of silence. Nodding at that. Yes, I remember your grandfather, your uncle, and your father. I only found out about his background when I was being pursued by those assassins back then. Don't you think it's ironic? Me and him are both heirs to our respective sects and schools, yet we never once met each other until then because of our reclusive nature. If I had known about everything then, would we have come to this point? Turn out this way. In this life, the one I've wronged the most is to you, Yenner. When I was being chased, I couldn't make it back to the medicine sect and hand you over to your grandfather. In the end, I could only rely on a reliable acquaintance to keep you safe. By the way, is Lan Yu doing well? She asks after suddenly remembering that kind and gentle friend of hers. Unfortunately, the answer of good news didn't come as expected, because Bai Yan's reply left an audible thud to the heart. She has passed away. She has passed away. Those words rung with an indiscernible sensation inside Bai Ning's chest. Clenching those hands, it's obvious this lady was having trouble coming to terms with this fact, and what that information hinted to. Dead for. How can this be? Quickly tell me. If Lan Yu passed away, then how was your childhood? Bai Yin didn't keep anything hidden, and went over the details in full to her biological mother. From the happy times according to her memory, and the sad and difficult ones, where she had to run away from that household. Bai Ning naturally became outraged over the maltreatment of her daughter by that scum of a stepfather. But the woman's anger quickly turned to pain and regret. There's no doubt in her mind that Lan Yu would have taken good care of Bai Yin, just that she never expected her dear friend to pass away so early on in her years. As a result, she could be said to have indirectly pushed the young girl into suffering so much wrong during her youth. I should have kept her with me that day. Why did I decide to leave her behind? But you don't have to feel sorry for me, mother. Even if I suffered a lot in those years, I still had my brother Shower by my side. Now I also have Deedsong and Xiaochen, so I'm very happy. Upon mentioning her own brother, who has always stood by her side, Bai Yan's lips inexplicably curved into a heartwarming smile. Sure, they haven't seen each other in a while after they went their separate ways that day. But this sister knows her younger brother had also come to the celestial realm. As long as they're walking on the same land, then they are bound to reunite someday. That Bai Xiao is indeed a good child. I hope I can meet him someday, and even take him as my godson. Bai Ning says that with a slight chuckle. In those years it was Bai Xiao who persistently stood by Bai Yan's side, so the amount of merit he earned with Bai Ning's heart was monumental. She couldn't even begin to imagine otherwise, if there wasn't this emotional support. Your husband is also pretty good. That day your injury should have been lethal thanks to that Keeper Ling. But your husband saved you with his essence blood. What did you say? Seeing the urgency, Bai Ning didn't keep her daughter hanging, and mistakenly thought it was because she now knows about the Demon King's identity. I already know he's a demon. Don't worry. I'm not like those worldly people out there who can't see past the norm. Not to mention he went that far for your sake. If I don't accept him, then it's me who's in the wrong. Visit my site on Cat Translation, if you wish to read ahead of public releases. She didn't like Deet Song before, because she didn't want to have Bai Yin be hurt by a bad man. Now that she's confirmed that's not the case, there's no reason left to hate him. Pale in the face, Bai Yin presses for more info despite the reassurance. How much blood did he bleed out? Probably about half a bowl? Boom! Like a thunderbolt striking down at her head. Bai Yan's mind was blown away as her legs stumbled back a few steps. For a demon and demonic beast, their essence blood was equivalent to their life. For example, if a demon could live for 1,000 years, then they would undoubtedly suffer greatly in their lifespan. Now imagine half a bowl's worth. That would be lethal to some of the weaker demons. That idiot, he really doesn't want to live anymore, does he? Please wait, mother. I'll be right back very soon. Gnashing her teeth in frustration, Bai Yin didn't wait another second and dashed for the exit where her husband was waiting under a peach blossom tree. How did the talk with mother-in-law go? Oblivious to the mistake he himself did, Deet Song asks with a dashing smile that only got enhanced due to the pink petals slowly drifting onto his robe. Running up fast to choke onto his collar, Bai Yin sounded furious. Deet Song, did you use your own essence blood to save me? Did mother-in-law tell you that? Dead 5. Do you know what it means to do this? The loss of your essence blood will detrimentally reduce your lifespan. How many years do you have to live? Deet Song understood why his wife would be so agitated and anxious. Without any argument, he rubs his hands around hers and starts making flirting plays. My dear Yenner is still as grumpy as ever, just the way I like it. After saying that, the shameless Demon King didn't give any chance for the woman to retort, and leaned in to smooch her lips. Don't fret, Yenner. Losing a bit of my lifespan is nothing. I am strong and will continue to grow stronger. When I do, my lifespan will naturally increase in kind. You know, there is a level where one can become immortal and free from the reigns of death. But that's too hard, she murmurs helplessly. How difficult can it be? As long as I can continue to live with you, then I will definitely reach that state eventually. By then not even the cycle of life and death can separate us. How could he bear to leave her alone in this world? Even if it means he would have to struggle for the rest of his life. Deet Song has every intent to enhance his own strength to the upper limits this body would sustain. By then, not even life or death could constrain him. Loosening her hands around his collar. I hope it really will be as you say otherwise. Turning sharp and commanding like a queen. If you leave me suddenly one day, then even if I have to flip over hell itself, I will take you back and fix you myself. Chuckling with amusement over that threat, the man couldn't resist anymore, and hugs her for a deep French kiss. That's his answer, his vow to her. Unaware of it themselves, their picturesque play of intimacy under the peach blossom tree had been seen entirely from start to finish by Bai Ning. She's been standing at one corner of the doorway, and against her daughter's happiness, this mother couldn't ask for a better outcome. Thank goodness Yenner has such a good husband. Now I don't have to worry about anything after I leave here. Casting her eyes downward in thought, the image of Keeper Ling's old face popped up again, which caused a distortion of anger and hate in that expression. Keeper Ling, Celestial Palace. I will one day destroy you all for hurting my daughter. You bastards will pay for what you've done. With one final glance at her daughter, Bai Ning's body completely disappears from the pond to carry out her vengeance. Unaware of her mother's departure, Bai Yin was still lost in her dreamy moment. Pushing her husband away. Be careful you. Don't press too hard, otherwise you might hurt the baby. Following the mention of the baby, Deet Song's gaze slowly shifted to the bumpy belly down below. And exactly then the baby seems to have heard their complaint. To show her existence, the tiny life in there actually kicked the poor mother's belly, and sent Bai Yan's gasping for air. "What's the matter?" asked Song with nervous eyes, shaking her head with a sweet smile. "There's no problem. The baby is probably anxious to come out and kicked me." Going black in the face, Song's stern gaze locked onto the belly. "If you dare to hurt your mother again, then I will slap your bottom when you come out." This one's existence already forced him to stop spending the night with his wife. Now she's also hurting her? How could this doting husband endure? "Oh, Song," making a helpless face at her hubby's behavior. "This is normal, you silly. A baby is bound to kick me sometimes. I don't care how others do it, but I won't let my child do it." That said, the overly protective husband started to make a ridiculous face of unreasonableness. "If she kicks you one more time, then I will rope her up and beat her bottom once she's born." Celestial Fox's blood won. Bai Yan's face went black. If the baby is a girl, then she would become Xiaochen's precious little sister. "Do you think he will still recognize you as his father if you beat the baby?" "What does it matter if he recognizes me as his father or not? I only need you anyways." This sentence really does match up to that old saying. A wife is true love, and the child is an accident. The only regret Song has out of this relationship would be how fast the children came into their life. Now he couldn't even get some free time to spend alone with his wife. Of course, if it wasn't for his boy's presence, perhaps Bai Yan wouldn't have accepted him so quickly, and he knew that much. Celestial Palace. Keeper Ling has been moping around in the main hall for a while now, his expression burdensome, and tired, like he's contemplating something heavy. Eventually a sigh escaped that mouth. Where exactly did that little thing come from? The power he wielded, why did I fear it so much? Growing sharp in the eye at the thought. Such a pity I couldn't make sure I sniffed the life out of that girl. With the Demon King's blood saving her, she's likely alive again. Should I inform the other keepers of this matter? "Respected keeper, Miss Ruo, she is seeking an audience with you." Despite the sudden interruption of a guard, Keeper Ling didn't angry, and even eased up on his sour face. "She's back? Go ahead, let her in." "Yes, keeper." But the order was unnecessary, because the door had already been pushed open by a hand, without any summoning. Under the glistening light of the sun, a woman wearing a light blue dress slowly strolls in, her elegance and grace unmatched in these halls. "How did things go on your end, Roshi?" Keeper Ling, casting her eyes down like some dejected maiden. "I am incompetent, please forgive me. I failed to take down that demonic city and its invaders. Thankfully I was able to confirm one thing though. That woman is alive again." Unfazed by the expected news, the old-timer didn't sound angry, and even grew more tender in his voice. "Don't let it get to you. It's not your fault. I in fact have met that woman already, so your outcome is within my expectation." Taken aback by the news, the woman stares out in shock. "You've seen her?" "Yes, it should be her reincarnation. Coincidentally, she's also going by the surname Bai and called Yen. She's even the daughter of that detested Bai Ning." Boom! Horrified on the face, a visible look of panic filled Yun Ruoshi's existence. Didn't that woman fall underground? How can Keeper Ling still meet her? Did she secretly escape somehow? But you don't have to worry too much. You are the destined one. The world will rally behind you. As for that wretched lass, she's the scourge of this world. Nothing good will come her way. Unlike his attitude toward others, Keeper Ling held Yun Ruoshi in very high regard, so his tone has never been harsh or mean. Unfortunately, the constant reminder of the fact that she's the destined one only made the lady there glum with agitation. Make no mistake, Yun Ruoshi wasn't so oblivious to the world that she would think she's the real destined one. Everything in her possession was stolen from Bai Yen in the past. Unless the real owner dies, she could never be at ease or live her life in comfort. Celestial Fox's blood too. I understand your concerns, Keeper Ling. I won't dwell on the matter anymore. After all, she and I are not of the same world in the end. That said, Yun Ruoshi then looks up to meet the elder's gaze, that face confident and proud. That's right, me and her are no longer the same grade of people anymore. I'm high and mighty, she's low and filthy like dirt. It's just a matter of time before I end her for good. I'm happy you understand that. If you're tired, then go back and rest first. Oh right, is that protection amulet showing any reactions yet? The elder asks with a faint smile as well. Clutching the pendant around her neck, the lady reluctantly answers. Do you know that woman has a son? Nodding. Yes, I've met him already. Her son can suddenly gain immense strength and become like a whole new person. I couldn't overcome that boy when I encountered him. It was the protection amulet that saved me in the final moments. I'm sorry, but I simply can't control my amulet as I wish in my state. Casting her eyes down, her look was all apologetic to suit her words. But my amulet wasn't like this before. That woman accidentally dripped her blood on it when we fought all those years ago. You know it too. I am the destined one, all hope lies with me. As for her, she's the doom of our world, so imagine her dirty blood tainting the amulet. It has caused severe damage because of that reasoning. Due to the lies spouting from that mouth, the elder's already disgruntled face had evolved into that of pure hatred and murder. It's no wonder that wretched lass is that Bai Ning's daughter. They are a perfect match for one another. If it wasn't for that person damaging the amulet, would Ruashi's strength grow so slowly? Making a bittersweet smile to put the final nail in the coffin. You shouldn't get angry for my sake, Keeper Ling. You know it as well. There are some people who are just evil-hearted inside and would never change. During the period where it was only me and her in the wild, she had always used me as a shield to keep herself safe. But for the sake of all the years of companionship we shared, I couldn't bear to cut off the relationship. Pausing to let her meaning sink in, she could see it was time to make herself shine even further. But everyone has a limit, I'm no different. When I learned of her wanting to use the entire inhabitants of the celestial realm as her own stepping stone, that's when I lost it and couldn't tolerate her sinister deeds anymore. How could someone be so evil and cruel inside? She would destroy everyone just for her own self-interest. Just imagining what would have come to if I didn't stop her frightens me to the core. The more she spoke, the more righteous the lying bitch was sounding until it's almost moral-raising. Against this change, Keeper Ling was taking it very well, and eased up like an elder watching their child growing up. Raising a hand to pat the lady's shoulder. It's okay, Ruashi. Just go back and get a good rest. The way she treated will be paid back in full, you can be sure of it. Thank you, Keeper Ling. I don't know how to repay your kindness. Taking a half bow to show her gratitude, Yun Ruashi deliberately lowered her head again to hide that devious smirk underneath. But please, I know she is a sinner that can never be redeemed. However, I hope that you can at least give this incarnation of her a chance. Even if I know she will not change, I still hope you would. Celestial Fox's Blood 3. Narrowing his old eyes, Keeper Ling's aura returns to that frosty chill. Give her a chance. How outrageous. That wretched woman has already shown her true colors time and time again. Forget about giving her a chance. I wouldn't even give her a chance to be reincarnated for a third time. Despite his own opinion on the matter, the elder didn't have the heart to downright refute the girl and hurt her feelings. Smiling with a nod. All right, if she is willing to repent, then I'll give her a chance. Of course, she must first exile herself and leave the bounds of the demon realm, then I'll give her the opportunity. Otherwise, thank you, Keeper Ling. Drawing a bright smile on her face, she arches her fist and retreats for the exit where she revealed her true nature. There's only a sinister smirk left. Is the Celestial Lord back yet? Yun Ruashi asks the guard after making sure no one's seeing. No, milady, the Celestial Lord hasn't returned. Alright, I understand. If you notice his return, then come inform me right away. There's bitterness in her voice then. She knows the love of her doom was also her poison. Yet she couldn't deny him, and was willing to throw herself into that flame. Demon City. Inside the luxurious palace that was only constructed here in recent months, Bai Yin loafs around in a lazy fashion like she normally does. It's then without any forewarning, a white figure schemes through the lady's sight and roused her attention. Normally Bai Yin would be quite alarmed to be intruded upon in her own home, and without anyone by her side. but this person was someone she recognized. Without hesitation, she got up from the bed to meet the new guest. "How come you are here?" she asked the person who had stopped moving under the peach blossom tree. Ever since that day where he saved her within the holy domain, she hasn't seen Chewy God again. "I came to see you in order to offer a solution in saving your son," he explains with a complex light in those eyes. "A way to save Xiachen?" The lady's eye tightened up at the notion. "Do you know the cause behind it?" Forming a thin smile along his lips, Chewy God didn't hide anything. "Yes, when I treated him before during the first time, I had already known how to save him. There are only two ways. One is to destroy the resenting grudge inside his body. The second is to have them merge together and become one. However, the second method will require the consent of the grudge and a key component." "What component?" Bai Yin asks with a furrowed face. "The blood of a celestial fox." "The blood of a celestial fox?" Startled by the name of said creature, Bai Yin searched through her own memories to no avail. She's never heard of such a fox in her life. "Your husband should know this already. I speculate the reason he didn't tell you before I did is because of the dangerous terrain the animal lives in. That place is called the Cloud Mountain. If you weren't pregnant, then the risk might not be an issue, but the way you are now." As expected, Bai Yin went silent at first before breaking out a shallow smile. "I know Di Song is worried about me and doesn't want me to take the risks in my state. I'm sure he was intending to go by himself at some point. But I am me. I have never been one to hide behind a man." Celestial Fox's blood for. And Bai Yin narrows her eyes onto the man. "I am very grateful to you for saving my son, and I am also thankful for you saving me back in the holy domain. I owe you a lot, and I will never forget your kindness in this life. However, Di Song's status within my heart is irreplaceable. I won't allow anyone to say something bad about my husband." Chewy God may not be openly hostile towards Di Song, but the underlying meaning of his words didn't escape Bai Yan's ear. If there's no ill intent, then they could still be friends, but vice versa. If for her husband's sake, she won't mind distancing herself from this mysterious man. Clenching the hands behind his back, that warning from the lady definitely hit a sore spot. "You're overthinking the matter. I've come to tell you because I wish to. You don't owe me anything. If anything, it's I who owes you. If anything, it's I who owes you." Bai Yan's heart stung over those words. For some reason she got this strange sensation that someone had said that to herself before. Suddenly, the handsome face of Chu Yifeng returns to her mind, causing a loud bang in her head like it's about to explode. That's right. Chu Yifeng also mentioned something similar like that in the past, where he probably owes her for a past life's debt. But what does this man have to do with Yifeng? Clenching her fist at all the unknown hovering over this issue. "I've told you before that I have a friend with a face exactly like yours. I'm going to ask again. Do you and him share some sort of relationship?" The man didn't answer right away, only staring at her like he's trying to gauge something. "I'm sorry, I'm afraid there's nothing I can say." Pressing forward by stepping into his personal space, there was no way Bai Yin would let this go so easily. "What do you mean by that? Are you implying he is indeed related to you?" "You will find out eventually, but not now." That said, the tenseness in Chewy God's clenched fist began to loosen. "And I suggest you hurry and go find a celestial fox. The sooner the better." "Why so?" Narrowing up her eyes, Bai Yin didn't understand why the urgency, especially when she's still heavily pregnant. At the very least she should go after going through labor to reduce the risk. Because the celestial fox will only appear when a fox is born. The baby in your stomach is not a normal one, so it will undoubtedly lure one to your side. Now this has left the poor woman in a bind. She knows that if Di Song finds out, then he would never allow her to go out during her pregnant state. In fact, Bai Yin has no doubt her husband would tie her up, if he must, just to keep her at home. Also, you should bring your son along for the trip if possible. A celestial fox's blood is best used when it's fresh. That's when it has the greatest effect. Furthermore, that species of the fox kind hated man the most, They won't show themselves if they smell the scent. As for Bai Xiachen, he's only a kid, his presence shouldn't matter. Having said this, Chewy God then met the woman's eye with his own before handing over an item. I've said everything I need to say. Take this, it's a jade card that can call for me. If the Celestial Palace ever comes to make trouble for you, go ahead and snap the card in half. I will come at my fastest speed. Startled by the offer, Bai Yin first glanced at the man, then down to the card in her hands. She's troubled by the idea of relying on this person, who she barely knew. But right when she wanted to return the item to its owner, Chewy God was already gone, nowhere to be seen in front of herself. Celestial Fox's Blood 5. I believe that as my child you will be very strong and survive. So if you are willing to let me go to find the Celestial Fox in order to save your older brother, then give me a sign by kicking me 3 times. But if you don't agree, then kick me twice. Whatever you choose, I will respect your opinion. Bai Xiachen was her child, as was the fetus in her belly. If Bai Yan's going to take the risk with her, then she would need the consent of the unborn baby. Bump, bump, bump. As if able to understand her words, the fetus actually kicked her 3 times as requested, and shocked the poor mother. Really? You're able to understand me? Alright, if you agree then kick me twice this time. And if you disagree then kick me 3 times. Bump, bump. This time there's no mistake, the baby does understand her. Now that you agree to your brother, we'll find a way to locate a celestial fox, and save your brother. That said, she then starts to muse over the options. Firstly, she mustn't let Di Song find out about what she's up to, otherwise the idea would be tossed out without a second thought. That means she must leave quietly. Mother. It's then a soft cuddly voice rushes over from the rear, and causes the woman to swing around like a thief that's been caught. Thankfully it was only her son once she recognized who it was. How come you're here, Xiachen? Where's your father? Asked Bai Yen with a soft tender voice of her own, answering without a second thought to his mother's inner plan. Batty father and first elder needs to go out for something, and won't be back until evening. They said to keep you company, mother. He's not here. A sigh of relief swept over the woman's face. Listen to me, Xiachen. I have found a way to completely integrate that grudge within your body. Now neither of you have to disappear. Blinking those eyes of his, the boy didn't object and continued to listen. But we will have to make a trip to somewhere. You need to come with me. Giving a happy nod. I will listen to you, mother. But my little sister is going to be born soon, so how are we supposed to go out? Is it safe? The reminder about safety definitely hit a sore spot for the desperate mother. I have no choice. In regards to Chewy God's stuff about using a fox's blood and such, she does trust him. It's unreasonable to trust a stranger so heavily. But that's what the heart tells her to believe. Okay, if that's what you want, mother. Batty father said it already. If he's not home, then I am the man of this family. I won't let anyone harm you or my little sister. Patting his chest, the kid says it proudly, that left Bai Yin warm to the heart. Don't worry, Xiachen. Whether it be you or him, I won't let either of you disappear. Smiling brilliantly. If mother likes him, then I can accept him, but I won't leave you no matter what. Otherwise, I will feel lonely in that sea of bitter hell. In front of Bai Yen, he's always going to be that good and obedient child. Aching over how sensible her boy was, Bai Yen couldn't take it anymore, and pulled him into a bear hug. Don't worry, I promise everything will be all right. Celestial Fox's Blood 6. Bai Xiachen didn't say nothing more as he hugged his head against Bai Yan's chest with that big bright smile. Come then, let's head out before your father returns. That said, she promptly lets go of her son, and led the way for the exit, holding the boy's hand along the way. At the main gate leading out of the courtyard, 2 guards were mindlessly bored out of their minds right now when they saw the woman and boy coming out. Immediately, they straightened up their backs and got sharp in order to keep up appearances. Queen Prince, might we ask where you are going? Quickly coming up with an excuse. I'm finding the room stuffy and bored here, so I'm taking Xiachen out for a walk. We'll be back very soon, so there's no need to inform Song. Naturally, the guards posted here wouldn't dare stop her. After all, this queen of theirs were the king's treasure. If so much as a scratch befalls the lady, then they might as well offer up their heads on their own. Just like that, Bai Yin was able to easily bypass the palace guards using this excuse until she was stepping foot into the city streets. Meanwhile, at the same time, not far away in a mountain range, Song was standing stoically atop of a ridge when his mood went afoul for unknown reasons. However, as soon as this doting husband recalled the image of his lovely wife waiting at home for him, a smile would escape his lips to wow the world. It's mesmerizing, daunting even for the faint of heart, which in turn left many of the female demons nearby gasping for breath. Ahumph! First Elder didn't miss the behavior from the crowd gathered below, and hurried to correct his liege's unintentional mistake. Doesn't the king know his smile can kill? What if some of the demonesses get some funny idea because of your smile? That will make the queen very unhappy. Realizing he shouldn't act that way as well, Song quickly restored himself back to that dominant and cold demon king that they all expect of him. So all of you are from the nearby demon tribes? In the celestial realm, most demonic beasts have long been subjugated into slavery or familiar contracts at the hands of the humans living here. Only few and sparse groups were able to escape that fate thanks to hiding in difficult-to-reach terrains. As a result, the ones gathered here today before Song are the ones who didn't get the news of the demon realm's attack and had to be sought out personally. That's correct, Your Majesty. We are the remaining demon tribes living in this region and are willing to be at your command. Song's sight first landed on the speaking old elder, then shifted to the beautiful young maiden next to him. An entry-level middle divine? The words were faint, but it was able to reach everyone's ear nevertheless. Understanding he needed to explain, the old elder steps forward and bows. Your Majesty, she is my youngest daughter and the most talented one among my children. In order to not let the celestial realm's people know of her existence, we deliberately hid her talent over the years, and has only managed to help her break into that rank recently. Her age is a bit old, but no matter, my daughter the princess will be born soon. I need proper maids that can not only serve her, but also to protect her from danger. First Elder, go find several more talented maids like this one to serve the princess. As his daughter, Song has every intent to give the baby the best he could offer in this world. Furthermore, he needs to train the maids to keep the stinking brats eyeing his precious girl away. What if they try to snatch her out from under his eye? The queen ran away again. 1. Yes, sire. First Elder respectfully complies by cupping his hand. I will take care of this matter, so please go ahead and return to the queen. I'm sure Her Highness will want to be accompanied by you. The last bit of his sentence was sugar to the ear, which made the Demon King's face melt again into a warming smile that left the elder awkwardly embarrassed. He wanted to remind Song again, this wasn't the right image to give as their king. But the man was already gone when he opened his mouth again. Ahumph! Coughing to clear the awkwardness in the air, First Elder figured he might as well push forward anyways, since they've already embarrassed themselves enough. Leopard Chief, our king always takes good care of the queen, so there are never any maids near Her Highness. However, the princess will soon be born, so we are in obvious needs of capable maids for that. I want to know if your leopard clan has any qualified members to fit the job. The meaning of his remark was obvious. It's a warning to not get any funny ideas about the king, or becoming his consort. They're only maids and nothing else otherwise. I've said all I need to say now. Go back and prepare the candidates and come to the demon city when you're ready. Whisking his sleeve, First Elder then began to leave, and signaled the dispersal of everyone gathered. Sister. Right as the young demoness who had caught Song's eye earlier was about to leave though, another figure suddenly steps in and stopped her in the track. Compared with her beautiful face, this new girl in front was quite petite with a cuter contour. Sister, I heard the king personally selected you? That's great. When I get to the city, I will need your help, sister. Furrowing up her brow, mooing the leopard demoness grew hesitant at her younger sister's request. You want me to help you for what? Quit trying to fool me, sister. You really think I don't know? The king is only saying it on the outside that he's looking for maids to look after the princess, but in truth he's searching for concubines for himself. Once we are in the demon city, then we are all his woman. Your strength is higher than mine, so of course you will need to help me. In this cute-looking petite girl's opinion, Muing should be monopolized for her own benefits, since she's stronger than her older sister. Such a great opportunity doesn't come often, especially when they're going to be in the palace to serve the king. What do you mean by that? When did the king start selecting concubines? He only chose me because my talent and strength are higher than everyone else's. Don't go running off and getting weird ideas. Now getting annoyed in her tone, Muing didn't like the way the conversation was heading. Regarding this younger sister of hers, the young demoness could say she's not very fond of her to begin with. For one thing, the girl never bothers to improve or train. That's already a disappointing factor in of itself. And the other was how often her younger sister would try to seek higher places beyond her position. This goes against everything Muing stands for, and that was self-improvement. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.